Welcome to Season 7 of True Blue Conversations with your host, Adam Bloom. Real talk with those who pledge to keep us safe with grit, sacrifice and determination. Let's get on with the show. This episode of True Blue Conversations is proudly brought to you by Loudon Private Wealth, the team trusted by professionals, veterans and families across Australia to build real long-term financial security. If you want to take control of your finances, protect your future and build real generational wealth, Loudon Private Wealth are the people you want in your corner. They don't do gimmicks, they don't do hype, just smart strategy and honest advice coupled with real-world experience. Check out the links in the description to contact Warren and the team via loudonpw.com.au or 02 8313 0418. Now let's get back to the show. This episode of True Blue Conversations was brought to you by Dead Reckoning Rum, creating individual rum releases commemorating the diggers lost in Afghanistan, proudly supporting veterans, donating 50% of all their profits to veterans organisations around Australia. Look up Dead Reckoning Rum, buy some bottles, connect via Instagram and Facebook and give them your support. Now, let's get back to the show.
G'day, welcome back to True Blue. Today I'm coming to you live from Sydney and I've got a mate of mine who we've been setting his podcast up for a little while now and he was a bit nervous at first, but when he first spoke to me he said, I don't really have a story, but he has a story and he served in the New South Wales Police for 14 years and did a number of years in general duties and was seconded to strike forces. And when you hear his story, I've been wanting to get him on for a while. So Ben O'Brien, welcome to the podcast, mate.
Thanks for having me, mate. Really appreciate it.
Mate, it's an absolute honour to have you on, mate. And as you said to me, mate, you're a bit nervous, but mate, we'll get you through this. So, mate, before we get into your police career, let's go back to a young Ben. Talk me through life growing up. Do you have any brothers and sisters? And what was life like as a young fella?
As a young fella, I had it pretty good, to be honest. Mum and Dad had worked their ass off and came from nothing and set us up to have a pretty comfortable childhood. I've got two sisters and a brother. I'm the second oldest out of the lot, so that middleman that was the trouble child growing up, you could say. So grew up in Sydney, born and raised. Went to school on the North Shore of Sydney. So
North Shore.
Yeah, that's the response I usually get. My folks work their backside off to send me to a private school up on the North Shore. Now I'm a parent. I now understand the sacrifice that they did make for that. And let's just say I blew that big time. I got asked to leave by the principal in Year 12. No, sorry, Year 10. Year 10. My sister was in Year 12 at the time. I was in Year 10. So I finished the high school certificate and got the tap on the shoulder to go elsewhere.
Yeah, right. So, mate, I think every veteran or first responder I've ever had on is the same way. School was not the thing. Distracted easy. Report cards would always say, if applied themselves, would achieve more. But you say, yeah,
that sums up most of my report cards. In childhood, I was by no means an academic. I was in the lowest of every score there could be academically. Right. But loved my sport, loved my music, loved the creative side of things at school. And that school I went to gave plenty of opportunities for that, which was good. But yeah, after that moved on to a different school, Turramurra High.
I've heard of Turramurra, yep.
Yep. I think my folks said they'll support me going to any school as long as it's not Turramurra High. So Turramurra High I picked. And it was interesting going from a North Shore private school to Turramurra High. I remember arriving on the first day, and I'm sitting on the bench outside the principal's office, and there's a bloke next to me, this Tongan fella, lovely bloke. I said, "Oh, are you new as well?" He goes, "Yeah, first day." I said, "Oh, what school have you come from?" And he replied with juvie. I went, "Oh, yeah, right." He goes, "Where have you come from?" I went, "Oh, yeah, just TAFE.
Smart, mate.
No way in hell I was going to say where I'd come from. So it was a different group of people, different type of education, but made some of the best friends I've still got to life now. It was my group of mates, although, what's the wording for it? We didn't play by the rules, but top humans, just absolutely great people, and still mates to this day. So I'm really grateful for being able to spend my last 2 years of schooling at that school. Learn a lot of life lessons.
Yep. That you mightn't have learned if you're at the private school.
Yeah, definitely. And it was good to be able to be on both sides of the fence on that one. Definitely fit into the public school scene a lot better than the private. But that's nothing against private schools. That was just my personality and my traits. And yeah, so finished high schooling there. Safe to say I had no education while I was there. It was just fun and games. But memories that will last forever.
Yeah, right. And then what did you do when you left school? Because you joined the police a little bit later down the track. So what are you doing in those interween from high school to joining the police? Yeah,
to be honest, I was just a piece of shit rat bag. After high school, went right off the rails. Got involved in a different group of people after school that were basically all about doing crime, street offences, just rat bag behaviour.
Yep.
I rebelled, as you could say. My family, I come from a religious family, grown up that way inclined, and I think it was my having such a good upbringing turned me into that rebellious teenager in the late teens. There's a lot of hard life lessons learnt in that period of my life, that's for sure.
So you sort of borderline. So you're having interactions with police at this, going down this path. Is that what I'm reading into? There
were interactions with the cops. We were stopped and propped a fair few times. The real turning point for me, and it was this cop or this group of cops changed my life and the trajectory it was going. It was one night we gate crashed a party, and I don't know if that still happens these days, but if we were bored on a weekend, we'd see what party we could crash into and steal the grog and just have a good time. A brawl broke out in the dance floor of this party, and I saw one of my mates getting laid into, so I jumped in, and we're all having a good old swing and whatnot.
As you do, mate.
That was a usual weekend.
Yep.
There wasn't a fight. It was a boring weekend. I've felt someone grab me from behind, so I've thrown a wild elbow behind me. Turns out it was one of the local coppers of the area. And immediately regretted my decision for being at the party, let alone throwing an elbow. And I had the absolute daylights beaten out of me by these cops. Understandably. It was a real eye-opener. It chucked me in the paddy wagon, drove me down the road to a place that I did not see that was familiar, and they kicked me out and drove off. Now, these days, that's heavily frowned upon, but that changed the course of my life. I really started to think about consequences, cause and effect, what I was doing with my life. Like, I had no direction at that stage.
Because you're what, mid-20s at this stage?
No, I was late teens.
Yeah,
late teens at that stage. So it was at that stage where my life could have been completely ruined and these cops gave a good dosing of old school policing, something you don't see anymore. But I'm testament to the fact that sometimes that did work. After that, cut that group off and started hanging around my old friends again. And that's where we kind of started to push towards where my life ended up.
So you... And, mate, it's very easy to... And any young listener out there, it is very easy to fall into those groups, because I know I did as well, mate. And what I put it down to is a sense of belonging. You just want to belong in those, teenage, early 20s. You're looking for your people, and that's what I put it down to. And I was the same, mate. I tried that for a minute and went, this is not for me. I'd rather stay on the straight and narrow, and joining a social motorcycle club that hung around 1%ers and all that. And I'm like, this isn't for me. See you later. And you do see a different side, but that one interaction, mate, that you had, changed the trajectory of your life, because you were only going one way, mate. You were going straight behind bars. That was where you're going to end up.
Well, yeah, and that was even more instilled once I joined the cops, when we'd get a list of our targets or people on bail, and we have to do bail checks on people I used to associate with as a teenager.
Yeah, right.
I was bloody grateful for the way my life had turned out, that's for sure.
So that interaction happens, and then do you have any family members that served in the defence or police, or are you the first?
No, my family has a very strong defence history. On my dad's side, my great uncle landed on Gallipoli.
Yep.
Then we fast forward to World War II, where my mum's father, my granddad, he served in World War II in the Navy. He was in the corvettes, so he was sweeping for mines all and up and down the Italian coast. He did the Pacific. He got taken prisoner of war for 2 days by the Italians and then released. It was good timing, I think, for him. Funny story, actually. He was on board the HMAS Cuttable when it was... He wasn't on board when it was torpedoed by the midget sub. He'd actually gone a little bit AWOL to see his wife that night and snuck off the ship. And he went and saw my grandmother, and then came back the next morning to sneak back on the ship, and it was sunk. So...
Yeah, right.
Very lucky he made that decision. Otherwise, there would be a lot of family not around, and even me.
Yeah, you wouldn't be here, mate.
My granddad then, post-war, he became a minister of religion with the Salvation Army. Then went on to be the padre at Holsworthy Barracks during the Vietnam War. So kept his connection with defence. Post being the padre for the army, he then went on to be one of the first official New South Wales police chaplains.
Yeah, right.
So there's been a connection with defence and police through my granddad. Still on my mum's side, my uncle served in Vietnam, and another uncle was in the army based up in Brisbane for years and years and years. On my dad's side, his father actually tried to sign up for World War II, but he was a miner up in the Hunter Valley, or the Hunter region, and they wouldn't let him.
Essential service, yeah.
They said, because you're in essential service, you can't join. So he said, I'll quit. They said, we'll lock you up. So he was busting at the seams to get in there, but he just mined throughout that time.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, there's a fair bit of history.
So your willingness to serve, you've got a rich military and first responder history. Were you close to joining the military, or after that, after what had happened with the police, it was, no, I actually want to join the police? How did you decide to go police and not military?
Well, Well, anyone that has known me from a child, my dream was to join the military. That's all I ever wanted to do. That's what I'd aimed for as a child. It always was very strong in me to do that. After I got asked to leave school in year 10, I went and got a whole lot of, at the local TAFE, they had recruitment brochures and pamphlets and paperwork and whatnot. And I collected them all, took them home, and my granddad, who'd served in World War II, was home at Mum and Dad's place. And my granddad, to this day, is my ultimate hero. He is just everything I could encapsulate as a person, a man, everything. He lost it. He said there was no way in hell he would let me join. Because of my respect for him, what Granddad said in relation to that went, like, that was, if it was that strong of a thing for him, I wasn't going to go against him. It turns out after the end of the Second World War, Granddad helped in getting a lot of the POWs back from the Pacific, and that stuck with him and haunted him for a long time. As an adult, I can understand where he was coming from now. At the time, I wasn't happy, but for the respect I had for him, I just wasn't going to do it. So yeah, that's why the defence side of things just didn't happen. My life would have been completely different. I couldn't even say where I would be now. Having a lot of friends in defence and post-defence, I probably couldn't hack it, to be honest. That's a whole nother breed of human that I have all the admiration in the world for. That they're special people, that's for sure.
100%. And so, mate, you join, you start, so your granddad intervenes and says, no, you're not joining the military. And then you join the New South Wales Police in 2011. Talk me through that process of joining up back then.
So back then, it was one of my best mates from school, Kale. We talked about it. And we're like, let's go down to Goulburn to the open day. So we drove down there, me, him and his brother Steve. And it wasn't anything special. It kind of just felt comfortable being there. I was comfortable around the environment, the people, the demonstrations they were putting on. And down towards the main hall, they had a section where they had application booklets where we'd have to fill it out and send it in. So we both grabbed one and went home and filled it out and posted it off. Then not long after, got an email with a whole saying, I can't even remember exactly what it would say, but you've got through the first step, now it's time for your professional suitability. So I had to fill out all declarations and all that kind of stuff. Sent that off. Then it was on to the not medical, it was a physical and psych evaluation in the one day. Did that, and not long after, we were both off to Goulburn. It wasn't a drawn-out process. I think all up it took 4 or 5 months from putting it in to being down there, if I remember correctly. I'm sure if my mate Kale listens, he'll correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, so we both headed down together.
Yeah, right.
And we started on Mother's Day.
Nice.
So poor Mum waved me off on Mother's Day down to sunny old Goulburn.
And how old are you at that point, mate?
I just turned 21.
Yeah, right. So still young and yeah,
baby face.
Yeah, absolutely. And
well, that was the nickname. Everyone kept calling me Baby Cop because they didn't believe I was old enough to be down there.
Yeah, right. And down to Goulburn, mate, it's hot in summer and cold in winter. So
it's 5 seasons in one day down there, mate. It's a shocking place.
So, mate, talk me through the academy. So you get to the academy, and are you doing? So you're learning law. Talk me through what that was like. And did you said that it felt like home when you first went down for the open day. You're actually at the academy now, training and studying to become a police officer. What was that like when you got down there?
It was interesting when we got down there. It started off with everyone gets into the assembly hall. And it was a big class. There was almost 700 of us to start with.
Wow. And
back then, the senior sergeant would come down and give us a big talk to introduce us to the academy. It's Senior Sergeant Mark Elm, which a lot of people from back in the day will remember Sergeant Elm.
I've heard of him, yep.
He is an absolutely amazing human and a cracker police officer, but he laid down the law of what was expected of us as students, what was expected of us as police officers, and what to expect once we get out. And I loved it. The way he presented reminded me a lot of my old man. So any homesick feelings were gone. If Mark listened to this, I'm not calling you old. I just said the mannerisms and characteristics were similar.
Yeah, like a mentor. Yeah.
Except it didn't resonate with a lot of people because after the first week, we lost 100 students. They just packed up and went home.
Wow.
So each day we could see just less people in the hall. And then it got to the next week and, Jesus, there was a lot dropped out. Probably for the better if they couldn't deal with a cheeky beasting from Elm.
Yeah, well, he's only setting you up for, mate, what you were going to experience on the street. So probably a good thing that those 100 disappeared.
Yeah, that's it. And he had little catchphrases that he would drop that just at the time seemed like the drill instructor's just going at you. But once you get onto the street, there were things he said that would constantly remind you, like your officer presence and things like that. He was definitely underestimated as a key component of that academy of the era. He brought a lot to it and he shaped a lot of people's careers from his experience that he could then pass on to us. So so after the week of getting drilled, we had all the academic stuff, the law, morals and ethics, traffic. Not being an academic, I struggled big time. I don't think I'd ever properly learnt how to study before I went to the academy. It was an eye-opener. Really struggled with that. Really loved DEFTAC, so your practical side of things. And a lot of people hated it, but I liked it. The drill, learning to march and uniformity of the whole thing, I really loved that. So, yeah, it was part and parcel. There were good bits, there were bad bits. Didn't love it down there. There's not much to do down there. The weather sucks. Back then, the food was shocking.
And you weren't being paid.
And we weren't being paid, which was always fun when you had a loan on a new car that you'd just got beforehand. That added a bit more pressure to it. And the food, we used to joke that we got the leftovers from down at Goulburn Supermax.
Yeah,
it was that bad.
Yeah.
Oh, it was terrible back then. I went down there not long ago, just before my retirement, and the food was great. So, not knocking the current contract, because current stuff was pretty decent compared to back then.
Yeah, right. And so were they doing like the shooting and all that aspect and the physical stuff? You were loving all that sort of stuff, like, and was it like, did you struggle with the shooting? Because obviously you hadn't shot I'm guessing as a young fella. So what was that like when you got onto the shooting aspect? Yeah,
it was great. It was a new experience. It was a new life skill, and it was one of those skills I enjoyed because you could see why we were learning to use it. We didn't get onto the firing stuff till about session 2.
Yeah,
but we had all the theory on the Glock and the operating processes of it beforehand. So to get hands-on with it and knowing what such a vital tool it was in our toolbox for operating on the road, I really enjoyed that side of things. Anything hands-on, physical, I was amongst.
So session 2, you talk about that's the practical side of things. So Is that where they introduced the taser, the what is it, the OS spray or the
OC spray?
OC spray, sorry. And is that when you start to learn all of those, when to pull those, when to use those, and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's the main time that they really hone down in it. We do bits of DEFTAC, like defensive trainings and tactics, in session 1, but session 1 back then was more academic with a bit of practical on it. Session 2, you get your uniform, you get your duty belt, and that's when it's actually game time.
It's coming real, yeah.
And that's when the scenarios get more serious. Back then, I'm sure there's a lot of people like me that are haunted by Red Man. For anyone that doesn't know what Red Man is, it's one of the instructors dresses up in a red padded suit, and you get thrown into a building with scenarios that you have to deal with. Well, in my session, they picked the biggest, angriest weapons instructor they could, and he was a unit, an absolute unit, and I don't know, he got his kicks off beating the living shit out of students.
Yeah, right.
I think three students ended up in hospital.
Wow.
Like, he was a scary dude, but it was needed.
Well, it sets you up for what you're going to face on the streets.
For what was going to happen in the future. And it still doesn't set you up completely for what was going to happen, but it was good to have that level of anxiousness and fear going into a training scenario to know how you're going to react or how to react before the real thing happens. So, yeah, as scary as seeing the Red Man standing in the corner of the room, knowing you're about to get the daylights kicked out of you, it was very good to have.
Yeah, definitely. And so you finish your time at the academy. Is that eight months at the academy?
Yeah, it's about 8 months all up. I did the extended version because I was a bit of an idiot.
No, you're not, mate. No, you're not.
So back then there was no resits or remarks for exams, and I failed my law exam by 1 mark. And so I had to go back a session. And then when we turned up, there was 125 of us from session 1 back in again to redo the session again just for law.
Yeah, wow.
So soon after that, they changed the rules where there was now resits and remarks and whatnot.
Yeah, what a punish.
But it was kind of comforting because you knew everyone that was in the session again.
Yeah,
you're worried you're going to have to meet new people, but funnily enough, it was you and all your mates, so you could tell who hadn't studied law.
Something that you'd use a lot, mate.
It was a bit of a vital exam. So I stayed at Goulburn a bit longer.
Yeah.
So I had to redo session 1 just law because I'd passed everything else with flying colours. But so we all were down there just doing law, and then we'd then rock into session 2. So basically spent 3 sessions down there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, right.
It was a long time.
Yeah.
It felt like forever.
So when you finally march out, mate, proud moment, get the family down to see you pass out, and you get sworn in as a police officer, and do you get to choose where you get stationed, or?
Yeah, so you put, back then, I don't know what it is like now, but we put in 4 preferences of where we want to go. They can pick one of them. They can not pick one of them.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I put in my 4 preferences, and I had a girlfriend at the academy at the time, and she put in the same stations but in a different order, all around the Sydney Central Met Beaches area. And I got sent to Harbourside at North Sydney, and she got Broken Hill. So they can look at where they want to send you, or they can send you where it's needed. So she got the short straw on that one.
Yeah, definitely. Far out. And that there, do you, as you pass out, mate, are you feeling confident that you're ready to go into the dangerous world of policing and hit the streets?
Mate, at the time, when you walk off that parade ground, you've got your kit on, the proudest day of your life. I've never felt a feeling like that ever again. Yeah, you think you're ready. And until your first day.
Yeah, well, so, mate, and as I highlight to the listener, when Ben talks through some of the jobs that he was involved in over 14 years, that he was, a sworn police officer before he medically retired, you will... Like he says that and we laugh together because I'm reading through the bio he sent through, and yeah, you were ready, mate. And mate, I want to go. So you're at Harbourside, and then in the first 3 months in the job, you get into a big dust up. Talk me through this and what came of this big dust up.
Yeah, that was a big dust up in Mosman. But yeah, like I said, you think you're ready until you get there, and then you're not ready. You don't know anything. You're starting from scratch. So went through the beginning of my probation period, 3 months in. To put a bit of context into this story, 2 days before this job, my mate from my session, who was in another team, went to a shoplifter down in North Sydney during the day, ended up getting bottled with a wine bottle, split his head open massively. Fast forward, it's a Sunday morning, and we're sitting down having a coffee, early morning coffee like you do in sunny Harbourside on the North Shore, as like people used to like to call us the latte sippers. Well, yes, the lattes are very good. I can confirm that. Don't hate us because you ain't us. Nah, there was some good times there. But we're sitting down having coffee, and the supervisor said to us, "We just need to be careful. Craig got bottled. You never know when something's going to turn to shit." Anyway, just a domestic comes over the radio and a car crew copies it up at Mosman, and there was only 2 cars on for the whole shift. And my FTO says, "Oh, we'll just swing past and have a look," because it was just past where we were sitting. So we drove up, and there was a car crew talking to a bloke in the car park of a unit block. So we jump out, we walk up, and old mate, he's off his rocket. You could see the sweat coming off him, the jitters, it was off like a tree. Anyway, one of the cops says to him, "Oh mate, put your hands behind your back, you're under arrest." And I was like, yeah, it's my time to shine. I was like, I'll get the cuffs out, I'll slap him on this bloke. Get the first cuff on his wrist, happy days, his arms behind his back, he's compliant. Go to slap the second one on the other wrist, and he explodes. Rips his arm out. Number one thing is don't have loose cuffs flying around. Well, that was
out the window.
That was out the window. These cuffs were all over the place. I got a puncture in the side of my hand from the swinging arm of the handcuff. So I get him onto the deck, and it was crazy what this bloke was capable of doing. He's kicked out at one of the female cops, dislocated her knee. She's dropped like a sack of potatoes.
Understandable, yeah.
He's then punched my FTO's arm and clean snapped it in half. She was standing there, and it was just...
Holy shit.
Just broken. They were our 2 tasers out of play. Those 2 officers were the 2 ones with tasers, and me and the other bloke didn't have one. So we're trying to grapple this guy on the ground. I hear this noise from over my shoulder from the other male cop that was with me. He's getting choked out with his own radio cord. So the crook had managed to pull it out of his vest, wrap it round his neck, and then was pulling down on it. So it was completely around his throat.
Yeah, right.
Choking him. So the only thing I thought of doing was OC spraying him. But we're close quarters on the ground. I've laid a knee into old mate's elbow. I've laid an elbow into his throat, and I've pinned him down with my forearm. And this is where inexperience came into play. I'm probably a couple of inches from his face to face. Then I've pulled the spray out and dosed him in the eyes with it. Anyone that's sprayed OC spray or seen it sprayed, it's got a fair bit of trajectory to it. So it's all bounced back into my own face. Didn't slow him down, so I emptied the whole can on him. we both had a can each on ourselves. I'll tell you what, that old OC spray, the oil-based stuff, that burns like hell. Anyway, he starts spitting at me. Another inexperienced moment. I've thrown my hand out to push his face away, and he's latched onto me like a mongrel dog with his mouth. He's just bitten onto my hand, and he was mauling the daylights out of it. I look at my hand now while I say it. I can still remember the look and the feeling I had, thinking, "Oh shit!" So I was out of options, so I just started punching the living daylights out of him. Got my hand out, jumped up. He's gone to jump up, and then I've given him a quick knee strike to put him down. By that stage, turns out a Signal 1 had been called on our job because all of us at the scene had called urgent on the radio, not knowing each other had done it. And then there was no response from any of us. So we had Northern Beaches cops, Ku-ring-gai cops, city cops, all of, like, anyone in the near vicinity had turned up. And that's when I knew that, like, backup is good. You could hear the sirens coming. We were all spent. 2 officers down. A wrestle like that takes it out of you. And hearing those sirens coming, and you could hear how many were coming. It was a very eye-opening experience. Fresh in the job, that's for sure. So then we had to deal with blood tests for months on end and all that kind of fun stuff after being bitten by a grub. But yeah, that was...
And was that the job that you were written up for? You were supposed to get something for it, and then you ended up getting something else?
Yeah, so it was funny how things happen. So that night I went home and my phone rang. It was a private number and I picked it up, and I thought it was a joke at first. They said, "Oh, is this Ben?" I was like, "Who's this?" He goes, "Oh, it's the Commissioner. It's Andrew Scipione here." And I laughed, and then it processed that it wasn't a joke. And I crapped myself for laughing at the Commissioner as a 3-month pro. Anyway, he did the usual rhetoric. He's like, "I want to thank you for what you did. You saved an officer's life. I'm going to put you up for a commendation," which I didn't even know was a thing back then. That new in the cops, you don't know what awards are or anything. I was like, "Oh, cool, thanks." Blah, blah,
Didn't
blah.
think anything more of
He's
it.
like, "Oh, you saved an officer's life," which he could have got out of it. I didn't save it. I just helped him out.
Yeah.
Anyway, a couple of weeks later, get to work, get to my pigeonhole, and there's a complaint for excessive force against old mate. So I was like, "Oh, this must be how the award process works." For the cops.
Yeah, okay.
So
I get it. I get a complaint.
I got a complaint, so happy days. Turns out somehow old mate had his neck broken from one of the impacts of something in that wrestle, so I can see why they looked into it a little bit. But yeah, that made the news. Ray Hadley was talking about it. It was in the Daily Telegraph for a bit. So it was a little bit of a, wow, I didn't know people paid attention to what we did. Old mate went to court, ended up getting off. He'd belted his... we got there because he'd belted the daylights out of his wife and smashed the door in. Girlfriend, sorry.
Grub.
Smashed the door in,
Grub.
broke her arm. Oh, pure grub.
Grub, mate. I'm going to say it, grub. Anyone that any bloke that hits a woman, you're not a man. You're a coward. Like, disgusting. My words, Ben. Words.
People want to know his name. They can just Google around the time frame and Mosman Police officer bitten. His name and face is plastered all over there.
Did he go to jail later on, or is he...
I don't know what ended up happening to him. I did see him walking down the road years later. And it turns out he did actually break his neck. He wasn't walking too well. I just kept driving on from that one.
Karma's a bitch, eh? That's all I'll say.
FAFO, as they say.
Yep.
So yeah, that was a good introduction to
policing.
They're full-on police. Like, there'd been wrestles before that. There'd been lock-ups before that. Been bad jobs before that. But that one was one that just... When you saw, this can actually go to shit real quick.
And I want to touch on quickly with you here that FTOs, mate, and for the civilian listener, field training officers, how important are they at the early part of a probationary constable's career? They either make or break a career, don't they?
They make or break it completely. I was lucky in a way. My first FTO that I got, his wife had a baby, I think, first week I was in. So he went on paternity leave. So I was field training officerless. So I got passed around between supervisors and different officers. And I got to experience and witness some really experienced officers and how they operated. Like, my first two supervisors, they're still in the job. They've been in forever, working the truck. We've got McGee and Stacey. My career was made from watching them. I took bits and pieces of what both of them were doing. And if it wasn't for them, I don't know where my career would have been, because I learnt so much. And I still learn so much from both of them. I still keep in contact occasionally with them both. And they're just pillars of the police force in my eyes, that they took the time out of their busy career supervising and whatnot to teach me the tools of the trade that they'd learnt over the years.
To then for you to pass on. And
so then to me, when I became a field training officer, it's vital, because I've seen some poor probationers who get absolute numpties as field training officers. Lazy, disgruntled, never done anything in their career but did the course, got field training officer. These poor probationers get put with them and they just learn the wrong way. And you can see it reflect in officers later down the track. You take it back to who their training officer was, and a lot of questions can be answered from that. So it's really vital to have experience on the road that can train up the new guys.
Do you remember your first arrest?
I do. My first arrest was on Lavender Street it's right on the border of suburbs, but like Milson's Point, Blues Point area. It was graffiti. Had a group of grubs graffitiing up the train. We've pulled up and old mate spotted us, and he had filled with paint. You know those weed sprayers?
Yeah.
So you pump them with the big thing. He had that over his arm, and he's done the Harold Hold up the road, and I've jumped out. I've chased him down up these stairs, up this hill. The poor bugger. I say that. I've got no time for malicious damage, but he did cop it. He was wearing shorts and a singlet. It was the middle of summer, and I've crash tackled him on the road, and he's gravel rashed head to toe. Just down there. And then he's chucked a wrestle on as well.
Yeah, right.
His knees were just shredded. But I was on a high. I hadn't been in the job that long, but I was like, this is what it's about.
Yeah.
Like, get the run, you get the wrestle, you get the cuffs on. I was like,
locking them up, mate.
Like I'm doing God's work. Yeah. This is what I was meant to be doing.
Yeah, right. Wouldn't be the last arrest, mate, would it?
Yeah, it wasn't the last time I locked him up either.
Oh, right. So he was a serial pest.
Yeah, well, I met him many years later. Years and years later. We had a theft from a bottle shop. I was the closest car I've pulled up, and I've spotted good old Thomas. I still remember his name. And he spotted me. He went to run and then just sat down on the ground. I jumped out. I was like, Thomas. And he goes, yeah, constable. I'm not running. I was like, mate, you could have run. I said, yeah, you had heaps of space. And he goes, no, mate. He said, last time I ran from you. And he pulled up his pants. Yeah. And his knees were like the skin had healed. And it was, this is years later.
Yeah.
His knees were still shredded from where it had healed.
The gravel rash, yeah. Yep.
And he goes, last time I tried to run from you, it didn't work out well. And I had this probationer hit to me. He was like, "What did you do?" And I was like, "I don't want to talk about it."
Well, the evidence is there.
It was there. What do they say? The myth is always bigger than the legend.
Yeah.
Obviously, he'd pumped the story up in his own head because this was many years later. I wasn't as fit as I was and not as keen to chase. He probably would have got away if he'd hightailed it. It was just a long neck of VB.
Oh, he did the right thing, mate. Sat down, so.
But he did. Oh, yeah. So we had a good chat after that.
Yeah, right. And, mate, throughout your career, like, you attend a lot of death knocks, and when you first started your career, do you remember your first one, and was there support back then, and did the support get better throughout your career as you know, supporting, giving those death knocks?
From the ground level, I'll say no. There's no support, and it didn't get any better. If you look at what's publicised out there about how they treat police officers internally, yeah, there's all these processes in place and things, and you don't see it. You don't see it at all. It's rare. You might get a good duty officer that actually cares about their staff. They're rare. But no, my first one, my first cease I went to was a poor bloke who killed himself. It was a bit of a doozy. It was middle of summer. No one had heard from him for a while. And Charlie was his name. I remember the first one I went to, and I just remember everything had Charlie on it. And it didn't impact me at the time, because you're young, you're keen, everything's a new sensory overload. It was just another deceased for a long time. But yeah, I do remember the first one. And then, like, you've got your death messages as well. I had a not so fantastic supervisor at one stage that refused to do them. So I copped all of them for about 12 months.
Fuck.
And no matter how many death messages you give, it never gets easier. And it takes a bit of you inside. You're visually, to that person, you've just ruined their life to tell them that a loved one's dead.
And they're never coming back.
They're never coming back. To watch someone's... You see their life change in front of you in a matter of minutes, and if you're not affected by it, as a person doing it, then get some help.
Yeah, psycho. Yeah.
Because it is one of the hardest things I can say I'll ever do and have done. And it's funny, my granddad warned me about it. Before I told him, he'd passed away before I joined the cops, but he told me he used to have to do it when he was the padre, because a lot of the blokes were getting injured or fatally wounded in Vietnam, and he had to do the death messages. And I remember as a kid he told me about it. He was like, I always just said a prayer before I went in, just asking God to take the load off. And at that stage of my life, when I started doing it, I'd walked right away from religion and God and whatnot, but I still did that. And I think it helped, because I kept doing them, but they just get harder. Once you think something's a really left field kind of death that you have to break to someone, then the next one comes. Like, I remember I did one on Christmas Day. So Merry Christmas, but we had to go tell a bloke that his wife had died climbing Mount Everest.
Fuck.
And he didn't believe us because the time differences and whatnot, and how quick the message got to us. He'd spoken to her the day, like the night before. So not only do you have that whole Christmas thing on top of it, he didn't believe it. And he was like, how? And then demanding proof from us, and we don't get proof, we just get the message, pass it on, then you can contact the consulate, whatnot. But things like that, every Christmas you think of that guy's Christmas that year, Yeah, and there's no support. You give a death message, you give it, and get... And to be honest, there's not that much time for the support, especially the way the guys and girls have it now. They're just from one job to the next. They've just got to work through that list. So you get the message done, you go to the next job, do the next job. Next job, shift's finished. That's it. It's just a constant moving machine for the guys and girls on the truck.
Yeah, and I always like to highlight that, mate, because it's to show the general population what you guys and girls do on a daily basis. It's daily that these messages are being delivered daily, and it's like the human side of things, mate. For you guys, it's to show that human side and that human element that it affects you guys. And as you said, if it doesn't, you're a psychopath, because you are dealing with trauma, and we'll get to it later on down the podcast of how all this trauma is, you're compartmentalising this, and it comes out in a big way later on in your career, and we'll talk about that later. And I want to go forward to a day, so after that first dust up, where you're gonna you get a phone call from the commissioner that you're gonna get a accommodation for bravery, and then you get a complaint, a lawsuit complaint put in about you of excessive force, and then you go to a domestic where you nearly shot a bloke, mate. Talk me through this.
Yeah. It's funny when I tell this. I told this scenario to a friend the other day, and I still got pins and needles telling it. This was in my probation period. It was just a verbal domestic. Fatal last words. It's just anything in the cops. There's a little spice to everything. But we were just cruising down to this verbal domestic. We thought nothing of it. We weren't rushing. We weren't anything to it. Rocked up, and there were these three Asian women running down the middle of the road, screaming, "He's got a knife! He's got a knife!" And the English wasn't too crash hot. We're like, "Who's got a knife?" He's like, "He's got a knife! He's got a knife!" They direct us to the unit, and we're like, "Oh, this is where the domestic was." And we could hear smashing and banging and screaming inside the house, and the door was open. And for visual context, it was one of those townhouses that has a real long corridor, straight down, kitchen at the back. So like a T-shaped house with bedrooms coming off it. We didn't know where this offender was. So guns out. We're clearing each room, and each time we're getting further down the corridor, the yelling and screaming gets louder. I swing into the kitchen, and there is an older gentleman holding on to a young kid that's covered in blood, and they're struggling, and it looks like old mate stabbing this kid, and they're kicking around in the corner and whatnot. So I challenge the bloke, get on the ground. It was not that polite. I said, get on the effing ground or I'll shoot you. Get on the ground. He's shown half his body, and this kid's still bleeding everywhere. And I was like, this is it. I've got to save this kid's life. And I honestly don't know if it was a God moment, a miracle, or me just not having the guts to pull the trigger. But I was pulling on that trigger in my head. I'd found my target. I seen the threat. I saw what was going on. I don't know why it didn't go off. Nothing. I'm going to say it was my hesitation that did it, and thank God there was. Old mate's put his hands in the air and started walking towards me. I've grabbed his arm barred him, and my partner at the time, absolute solid operator, she's just wrapped him up, cuffed him up on the deck. She was great to learn off. I've run over to the kid and we're trying to hold him together. Ambos are turned up by this stage. Long story short, we'll cut out all the middle bits. The kid was self-harming, stabbing himself, and the dad was trying to stop him. But the dad thought we were going to shoot his son, so that's why he was grappling him to shield him from us. Which is all beautiful in hindsight, but at the time, if you walked into that or saw a replay of it, if there were body cams back then, it just looked like a horrendous murder taking place. We get to the hospital, the kid's talking, and I said to the kid, mate, your old man's a nut job. I said, he had a gun pointed at him, and he didn't stop. And the kid laughed, and he goes, oh, my dad's not scared of guns. He's a retired officer from the Vietnam War. I said, oh, which side? He goes, oh, Viet Cong. I was like, oh, no wonder he laughed. Like, he didn't take me seriously. He just would have seen this baby-faced cop with a plastic gun. Like, this guy was next level. But that could have changed lots of lives that day. If that had gone... If it had gone the way I had planned it to go, that would have been probably the end of my career, the end of someone's family. Not only messed up my partner at the time. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's good sometimes when things don't go to plan. That stuck with me for a long time, that it's easy to analyse situations from afar in hindsight and go, oh, well, this should have been done, or I should have done this, or like any keyboard warrior or upper management does after the fact, but at the time, wow.
Well, it just goes to show, Ben, that how quickly situations can go from 0 to 100 in an instant.
Oh, we were talking about where we're going to go for dinner after the domestic as we pulled up. The job we got broadcast was nothing. Mother and son arguing. We're like, yeah, we'll wrap this up and we'll go up to Guzman's and Gomez, grab some dinner. And then next minute, you're standing there wondering if you're going to take someone's life or not. Within 40 seconds of the conversation. It's an emotional roller coaster.
It's, dopamine overload, mate, of, as I say, going from 0 to 100, and you've got to make a split-second decision whether you take someone's life. These are the day-to-day... This is why I love getting you guys on the podcast, mate, to highlight that all those keyboard warriors out there that smash you guys, 1, couldn't do the job, 2, wouldn't do the job, but a 3 will throw criticism straight at you guys for doing one of the hardest jobs that is in any profession. Being a general duties police officer is one of the hardest jobs ever to exist.
Oh, 100%. And while we're talking about, credit to the boys and girls that are on the truck at the moment.
Today,
Today,
as we speak.
It's a different world, even from back when I was kicking it early days on the truck. It's a different world even to 12 months ago. The guys and girls have it so much harder than me and the other retired cops had. They've got twice the workload, twice the scrutiny on them, twice the expectation. Like, for those guys and girls to be showing up still every day,
that could face a lawsuit to lose their house or end their career, mate. These days, and we're going to get into the wokeness of policing a little bit later, but just want to highlight that it's a hard job. It's a very hard job, and
it's just getting harder.
Yeah, and so that happens, mate, and then you're compartmentalising that of that day and everything else that you face. And this is I want to highlight too, this is only early on in your career. There's many more incidents that are coming. This is at the start of your career.
Yeah, there's things in between, like horrendous fatalities. We've got a main motorway. Like, we'd be here all day. And it's like any general duties cop. they're dealing with this stuff every day. It's not rare that I had some big uns in my probationary period. It's just they all amounted up to what ended up being the demise in the end.
We'll definitely talk about that a little bit later. But after this, mate, you're seconded to plain clothes. And what do you do? Is this where you go? Is this proactive?
This is proactive, yeah. So I was lucky enough in my probation period to get a rotation up to the plain clothes group. I learnt early on that I was good at proactive policing, and I loved it. Really enjoyed it. And I had my main mentors in the job were really proactive supervisors and whatnot. And my best mate at the time, Bambi, he was mad keen on proactivity. So we'd have competitions. Every month, there's a thing called an iWork that comes out and tells everyone statistics in the station. And your performance is based off your statistics. And it was just a competition to see who was the most proactive, who had the most charges. We loved it. So when I got a chance to prove myself up in the plainclothes bit, I really, really enjoyed it. And we had our supervisor at the time, he was also a UC operative and then also supervised undercover operations. So he got us into working alongside the UCs with jobs. And there was just crazy things I never thought I'd do as a cop, let alone as a probationer. Like, we helped out the King's Cross gang squad, an undercover up in King's Cross back when pre-lockout laws. Where
I remember that, mate. I remember pre-lockout laws because I'm only a couple of years younger than you, and then it changed, and King's Cross was wild back in the day.
It was hell of a place. It was fun.
Not now, but it was back in the day.
Yeah. Oh, now it's just coffee shops and Uber scooters.
Yeah, that's right.
You see, I went up there the other day, and where all the bikies used to sit, they're all Uber scooters. They got the Uber gang running King's Cross now. But yeah, we got to do internal security for undercover officers in different nightclubs and strip clubs, and it was pretty crazy. Things were a bit like, we have a thing called sus money that they give you, which sounds sus, but it's sustenance money. So to pay for food, drinks, and whatnot to help us blend in. Well, back then, they were a lot more generous with how much they gave us, and it was fun. Let's put it that way. And the UC's did a good job. Everyone got out safe, so we did our job. And as a probationer, I was just like, this is the best job in the world. This is.
Am I getting paid to do this?
I can't believe I'm getting paid to do this. So that was good. And then that turned into a full-time position up in the proactive team because I was able to prove myself to them. Spot opened up and I got my hook, which is the first stripe when you get confirmed as a constable. And we got up to the team, which it was probably not the best decision for me in hindsight. Being young, keen, and getting rewarded that quickly for how I performed, arrogance kicked in, and it burnt a lot of bridges. And I was too young to understand the effect that would have on myself towards people. Now, I'm not saying everyone hated me, but there were certain people that I pissed off enough that ended up backfiring on me later down the track. And it took me years to realise what I'd done wrong because I was so engrossed in just being the best proactive cop I could be.
Tunnel vision.
It was tunnel vision. And all I cared about was doing that. And if anyone got in the way of that, they weren't on my team. And in a team environment, it doesn't work, does it?
And how old are you at this stage?
I would have just turned 22.
So, mate, most
Still a baby.
most 22-year-olds, mate, aren't thinking of teams, mentorship. Like, they're thinking of exactly what you were doing. Just, I'm Soul, and this is me, and let's go, and that's what you do.
Bulletproof. Yeah, no one can stop
Bravado,
you.
Mate. Bravado. We've all been there. I've been there as well.
Testosterone's pumping through.
100%.
And we had a keen team as well. It was a small unit. There was about 5 of us. So we're all close-knit, tight, keen as, which is great. But only when you're in that team of the exact same like-minded people. But no, that got kicked out of me fairly early on in the career, which, thank God, one of my best mates, Tyrone, he had seen and done everything in the cops, and he pulled me aside once and gave me a good talking to. And it wasn't a screaming match. It wasn't a, you're an effing idiot. It was just facts thrown at me. And I can say to this day, he's still one of my best mates. It was the best advice I was given to pull it back a bit, slow it down, and then life was a bit easier after that.
And sometimes you need that, mate. Like, sometimes you need someone to give you the honest truth and give you that, just sort of a dressing down to say, hey, is this really the path you want to, you know, like when you first had that interaction with the police before you joined, those sliding door moments to go, well, if you keep going the way you're going, you'll be treated, you know, as like someone will say, you're a fuckwit, or they'll go, actually, no, you're a good, decent, you know, you're a good, decent bloke. And sometimes you need that interaction and those life lessons that you learn hard. That I've been there too. Don't worry, I know them too, mate. I
think we've all been. I think everyone has
100%.
Been there where it's,
and you either take it on board and change, or you keep down that path. And we both know certain people that stay down that path, and others that
if you're not open to criticism or
100%.
advice,
100%,
you're on a one-way street to nowhere. You don't. I used to tell people when I was an FTO, you never stop learning. The day you think you know everything is the day you learn you know nothing.
Or, mate, I'll use the day you stop learning is the day you die.
Yeah.
Every time I do a podcast, I'm learning, getting better. Like each one that I've done over 160 now, each time, mate, they're getting better because I'm listening back and I'm trying to improve every time I do them. And
it's the same in policing. You have to be open, and just in society in general.
100%.
You just have to accept where you've made mistakes. You can't change your mistakes, so they're there. But if you own it and try and better yourself from it...
Accountability, mate.
That's it.
Well, I mean, we could talk about politics and no accountability, but...
I stay well away from political commentary.
We won't comment on that, but no, but you're right. Accountability, mate. It's a big thing. It's a big, own your shit and move forward and try and do good and just be the best human you can be. Exactly, for any young player out there, exactly what Ben's saying, and any young police officer that listens to this, just listen and shut your mouth and learn from people that have got your best interests at heart. Yeah.
So not all bad feedback is bad. I learn a lot from it. And I'm grateful that I was fortunate enough to have such experience around me when I joined the cops that I was able to learn from so many people.
Yeah, right.
Like, just the years under their belt. Like, my main mentor in the cops, Sergeant Mick Martin, he retired at 43 years in the cops.
Wow.
And I would go to him every day shift. I'd just go in for a chat. Big Mick. He was like my work dad, I used to call him. But he'd he joined the cops as a cadet, worked in Darlinghurst back in the day. He knew everything, seen everything. And he was just that much of a top bloke that you could go to him with any question and there'd be zero judgment and he'll give you the answer. And even just life advice, not even policing. He was just one of those cornerstones that we lack a lot in the police at the moment with the depth of experience of officers. He was one of the last of the cornerstone sergeants.
Few and far between now, mate.
Yeah, there's still out there.
I say that,
some, but there's not as many as there should be for
and
various different reasons.
And I say that with knowing you guys, that there are still some amazing boys and girls and sergeants that come from that ilk, but there are a lot of them now, and a lot of the police I've spoken to that have since left the job with that experience. That's what I say in that statement, is that they're few and far between now.
Yeah, there is a gap. There is a gap. And I don't think I'm speaking out of line. I think anyone at any station can say the same thing. Still will say the same thing.
100%. And
it's not a blanket thing, but it is there.
No, that's right. It's and exactly right, mate, in that sense of that, I don't think you're speaking out of term at all, mate. I think because you've lived it, you've seen it, and you're only fresh out of the job, so you've seen it firsthand. Of that experience it's slowly, the gap is there. It is a big gap.
Yeah, there is a gap. But I've met a lot of young coppers lately, like fresh 1-2 years in, and I'll tell you what, the eagerness and keenness is back.
Good.
There's some heavy hitting young coppers out there now. We had a lapse in recruitment. I don't know what was going on in that department a few years back, where every man and their dog could get in. But for the last about 2 years, I started meeting different people and chatting with them. The cops are on the way back.
Yeah, good, mate. That's what we want. We want police locking up hard criminals, mate. That's what we want them to do, and protect and serve. And mate, you did it for 14 years, so yeah, that's what we want. And we all want a good police that are proactive, that are out there hunting offenders, mate. Hunting the crooks, and that's good to hear, mate. That's really, it's music to my ears to hear that there's that it's back, which is good, which is really, really good. And mate, I want to touch on during your time in plainclothes. I want to touch on that you started a mini riot in North Sydney.
Oh, the great riot of Miller Street.
What happened here, mate?
Well, so at that time when I was in plainclothes, we were in charge of all the drug operations, drug dog operations, any music festival, rave, whatnot. So I got tasked with being the operational commander for this certain drug operation at the Greenwood Hotel. Anyway, it was a backpacker event. So, majority Irish. It was New Year's Day. And I was in uniform because I was the operational commander. I wasn't getting his hands on, so I was walking around making sure everything was going to plan. I think we had 3 dogs operating. It was a big one. Anyway, I'm walking down this laneway and this girl comes up to me and she goes, "Oh, I don't know if you want to know this, but there's someone smashing your police car up on the street." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I've just waddled up, thinking, there's no way this bloke's still hanging around. Well, there we have an Indigenous male with a wheelie bin, just slamming it into the windscreen, just belting after belt. And I was like, "Oh, this is not good." Anyway, so I ran up there. I was like, "Stop it, mate." He's like, told me the usual, "Get fucked, copper." I was like, "Oh, I'll batten him." Because he bridged up, and I was still fairly new, and I didn't want to use my spray again, to be honest. It burnt the first time. So I was like, I'll get him on the ground. So I did the approved batten technique, 0 effect. The approved strike zone, 0 effect. He starts coming at me while I'm striking him. He's off his rocket. He's not feeling a single one of these strikes. So it turned into a bit of kung fu fighting with the extendable baton. I'm getting him left, right and centre, head to toe. Anyway, the line to the dance party full of all these Irish guys and girls was on the side of the road watching this happen. And to them, all they saw was a Caucasian police officer beating the daylights out of an Indigenous male with a baton. which from their point of view and from their culture with law enforcement and the military and what they've grown up with or their families have grown up with, they weren't too happy. So they've started mouthing off. I've called for extra cars. I don't know what happened. The whole pub emptied. The whole dance party emptied. They're out on the street coming at us. Lucky for us, because it was New Year's Day, there was a couple of pause crews around. And they've come down and they've shut off Miller Street in North Sydney. And it was just absolute carnage. They wanted blood and I just wanted to go home. We'd already worked New Year's Eve. It was New Year's Day. And I was like, this is the worst thing. And the funny part of this is, you know, sometimes you think stories get exaggerated over time. For years I thought, maybe this wasn't like how I remembered it. Years passed, I met my son's mother, and I was telling the story. Turns out she was there, and she witnessed the whole thing. This is years before I'd met her.
Yeah, right.
And so she retold me the story, and it was exactly the same. And I've gone, oh, thank God. I was starting to think it got a bit ridiculous calling it the Great Ride of North Sydney, but no, it actually happened. And it's funny, when I talked to her about it, she goes, why were you beating that poor black man? I was like, oh, goodness, you're one of them as well.
Yeah, right.
No one gave two shits about the smashed up cop car and the safe driver report I had to do after that. But yeah, that was a fun one.
Yeah, mate, to have the pause guys called. And
it wouldn't be the last time in my career.
Yeah, well,
saved my tail a few times.
Yeah, and just mate, when you sent through your bio, when you said, oh, look, I don't really have many stories, mate, I'm going through them. I'm like, yeah, okay, Benny, yeah, sure, mate, you don't have stories. Like,
in my head, mate, like, this is everyone, all the boys and girls are doing this exact thing day in, day out. And I've listened to your podcast and other podcasts and you get this imposter syndrome because you see these heroes and you listen to their story and you've admired them for years. And then to be asked to come on the same podcast as some of those people, it's a daunting feeling, I'll be honest with you. I'm happy to admit it. This scared the daylights out of me.
Nah, mate.
Getting this done, but mate, it is a story that...
It's for your son.
It's
to capture your story, mate, for your son, like for your grandkids. This is why we do the podcast, mate. They're locked into history. Like, mate, this is to highlight what every general duties police officer does, mate, around the country, around the world. Like, you know, this is why we lock them in, mate. This is why we do it. And, mate, I'm honoured to have you on the podcast, mate, to share your story. So
I appreciate it, mate.
And so that happens, mate, and then I want to go forward to 2015. You're back in uniform, and your first night shift, and this is you go to an incident. Talk me through this one.
Yeah, this one stayed with me for a long time. It still does. So due to personal conflicts, I got put back into uniform after a couple of years in plain clothes. And new team, I get put on station shift for my first shift. Standard. It's kind of, you let the people you know out on the road, and it's just what supervisors used to do. I'm sure they still do it. Anyway, we had a brand new duty officer, Mr. Donald, come. Anyway, got to about 2 o'clock, and he came out to the counter and he goes, oh, I hear you're from Proactive. I was like, yeah, I am, boss. He goes, oh, well, can you come out with me and show me around, show me where you get some drugs and vehicle searches and whatnot. So I said, oh yeah, not a problem. He's like, oh, just come out. So I didn't have a radio on, I had my gun. Jumped in the car and we're driving around Sunday night, just to different hotspots, places where we'd usually find people. Anyway, there was a spot up at Mosman, just up from HMAS Penguin. You'd always get bong smokers or rooters in the car and you tell them to nick off. So we pulled in to the street. I could see up in the distance there was a car with all the windows fogged up. I remember laughing to the boss and I said, oh, boss, we're on. So we've driven up and I've stopped the car and I've noticed there was a hose coming out of the exhaust pipe into the back window. And I remember I yelled hose to the boss and then just jumped out of the car, ripped the hose out, opened the front door, turned the car off, and I've looked over my shoulder and there was a lady out for the count in the back passenger door. So with the adrenaline going, I've run around, ripped her out of the car, and started doing CPR on her. Anyway, the boss, who was new, he's yelling at me, "Where are we?" Because he was new to the area. And with all this going on, for the life of me, I couldn't remember the name of where we were. I had no idea. Anyway, so I'm yelling, "I think it's this, I think it's that." And he's on the radio trying to get more cars and ambos to come. As I flicked over my shoulder in between breaths and compressions on this woman, I saw another figure in the car. And I've gone, oh shit, there's 2 people in this car. I've jumped up, tried to drag this bloke. He was a big fella, and the boss has helped me. And here we are on the side of the road doing CPR on 2 people at the same time. And I'm trying to get my bearings on this one. The boss had to run back to the car to transmit something on the radio. He didn't have a portable on him either, which, hint for young players, that radio is your lifeline. Don't go anywhere without it. Even if it's a coffee shop, carry your portable. So then I've got these 2, I'm kneeling in between them. I'm giving breaths one at a time to the bloke, the girl, the bloke, the woman. The woman started groaning. I was like, there's life. I'm working on old mate. And I was just doing the usual, you just got to keep it going. In my head, all intents and purposes, he was gone. I've given him a breath in between, and he has come to life whilst I'm about an inch from his face. Eyes wide open, mouth wide open, and this groan that I can honestly say that's probably the most scared I have been. I don't even care about admitting it. I crapped myself. I was convinced he was
gone.
He was gone. This is just to make sure I did everything that I could do. Boss has come over, tended to him, I attended to the woman. Out of nowhere, lights and sirens. Once again, you hear those sirens coming from a distance, and ambos turned up. There's, I think, about 4 ambulances turned up. So the paramedics grabbed them, chuck them in different ambulances. That was the end of the shift. So went home, went to bed, came back to work the next day, and I went into the boss. I said, "Oh, boss, any update on the patients?" I was like, she's gone, isn't she? He goes, "No, she got discharged. She's fine. She made it." I said, "Oh, what about the bloke?" He goes, "No, he died. The carbon monoxide poisoning just absolutely ruined him." But somehow the doctors were saying she was at the point of death where there's a time frame when you get the carbon monoxide poisoning in the blood where you pass out to when you die. And he must have just had enough. She just didn't have enough, and then she ended up making a full recovery. And last I heard, she moved to Port Macquarie and retired. But it was sad. It was this very wealthy Mosman family, and they'd received a scam email from those African networks saying that all their super had been lost. And because they'd lived a life of such wealth and only ever knew money, their whole world fell apart. And so they agreed to double suicide together. It's just
That's a challenging first shift, mate. Back in.
I was like, welcome back to uniform, boys and girls.
Yeah.
So much for my station shift.
Yeah, far out. And then, mate, in that same year, so that happens, and then in the November, you attend a challenging DV, and this one was challenging. And mate, I just take your time with this one, because this one was, yeah.
Yeah. It is a job that I have thought about a lot for many years, and I don't think it was handled the right way in any respects, but managerially and whatnot, that's its own thing. That's done and dusted now. It's for me to get over. But yeah, I was with a probationary shift. It was the end of shift. It was like 7:15 at night. We should have already been back at the station de-gunning. Night shift should have been out. You know, the radio gives us a double beep. It says, violent domestic occurring now in Camaro. There's a POI pinning someone up against a glass window on the top level of this apartment block. Anyway, I sat there. I remember sitting at the intersection. I was like, someone's got to copy that. I'm like, we're finished. Got broadcast again. Radio silence. I was like, we've got to go. So I copied it, going code red. And we're getting updates. It's like, yeah, it's violent domestic. There's a physical struggle happening. And then just a long driveway with it's almost like a bridge of units over the driveway as you go in. Anyway, old mate's come out the top window and through the window, splattered on the car park floor. Just for anyone listening, probably a trigger warning if you're not wanting to listen to the next few bits. Maybe fast forward a bit, because it does get a bit horrendous. Don't know what happened to my offsider. He disappeared. I ran over to the body, and old mate was still blinking and groaning. I was like, shit. I looked down, and his body was not recognisable. His foot was where his ear should be. His hip was where his chest should be. It was a mess. Anyway, I'm screaming at the bloke. I'm like, just stay with me, stay with me. And he was just staring me in the eyes and trying to breathe. And like, I know now there was no chance of saving him, but you don't think that way when it's happening
at the
in
time,
front of
yeah.
you. Anyway, he starts choking. And I was like, shit. Like, he's choking on his tongue. You know, this is still naivety, I guess, still young. It's like he's choking on his tongue. I'll pull his tongue out. So, dug in there and started pulling. And it was actually
Take your time.
Yeah.
It's all good. I can see. Take your time, man.
No one else wants to hear the grubby bits, but long story short, it was his intestines coming out his mouth. And they just kept coming. And then he was gone. There's a big difference from going to a deceased to being with someone when they're alive and seeing them deceased in the same scenario. They hit very differently. Anyway, the person up in the unit's done the Harry Holt. He's run away. So detectives come, crime scene come, rescue came to put all the units back onto this car park, so we had to have rescue to rope everything off. And anyway, the crime manager turned up. And so that's like the 2IC of the station. And I said, oh, boss, this and this. I did this. What do you want me to do? And all he said was, fuck off and go home. So, went back to the station. One of my mates, who wasn't even in charge, was like, are you alright? I was like, that was pretty bad, man. Like, can't say it's my best day. He's like, oh yeah, just let me know if you need anything. And he meant that from a genuine place. Like, he was a top bloke, but as a young bloke, you don't think anything of it. If it's not from a boss, then it's just a mate asking how you are. Got back to work the next day. Detectives asked for a statement. That's the end of it. No one was arrested. No one was charged. There was no follow-up. There was no welfare. And I say that now in hindsight. At the time, I didn't care. And to be honest, if a boss had asked me, "Are you all right?" you'd say yes, because you don't want to be off the road. So that one, that started to flick a bit of a switch. Not terribly at that stage. It was more, this is actually a really grotty job. Like that, I should be affected by that.
Mm.
And I was like, I feel funny, but I don't feel off, if that makes sense.
Mm.
And then life went on, as general duties does. You just strap up and just keep going job in, job out. You kind of forget about it for a while until something else pops up. And
And I'm just going to pause there for a minute because I want to thank you for, sharing what is really challenging. That is trauma to the absolute, like you. And I'm glad you actually did go into detail. Like, I know that, it's gory and, it shows what you guys do and shows what all first responders face, mate. Situations of, being police, fire, ambulance. This is a day-to-day occurrence that we all face as first responders. And so, mate, I'm really, mate, I want to thank you for that rawness that you showed. And I could see it. I could see, mate, it still affects you. And it's never easy sharing these stories. And so, mate, thank you. And it wouldn't be the last traumatic event that you would see in your policing career. And there's another incident, and it's a critical incident the next year in 2016 with the girl and the tasering incident. And talk me through this one.
That's two different ones split into one. So the girl incident,
yes,
was not long after that. We had to make a tourniquet and
yes, yeah,
that one, yeah. That's another. Just you think it's a normal day self-harm. This one actually, I don't know if it ends funny or not, but depends what your humour's like. We get called, this poor girl's tried to commit self-harm that many times at the hospitals, put her in a full arm cast, both arms, so she can't try and slit herself anymore. We get called to her place. The day before, she tried to jump off the Harbour Bridge. The boys stopped her. So we knew exactly who we were dealing with. We get there and, yeah, she'd had a good attempt at herself. She'd hit everything she could in her wrist. She wasn't mucking around. Back then, tourniquets weren't really something we spoke about in the cops. It was in first aid training, but we didn't have them in the cars. They weren't in the first aid kit. It wasn't the world that we know now where it's used often. It is squirting out everywhere. I've ripped a phone off the charger and made a tourniquet out of an iPhone cord, which I never thought I would. I've never had to do again, thank God. But turns out they're pretty durable. You can get some good tension in them. So I was able to stem the bleeding, wrap her up. And I jumped in the ambulance with her. And she begged with me for help. She's like, I just want to die. Can someone help me? Like, I don't want to feel this way. And any first responders listening, we've all got stories of people who do self-harm for attention, people who are pests, using that as an excuse for things and whatnot. But this girl wasn't. She was gung-ho and she was begging for help. We get to the hospital and the first thing the nurse says to me was, hopefully she does it right the next time. I'm sick of this bitch. I didn't cope with that well. I absolutely cracked it. Then the mental health staff came down and said, we're not going to admit her, even if you do your Section 22, because she's nothing but a pest. We'll treat her for her injuries and then she's released. This is the point where I thought maybe my mental health was declining a bit, is I raged at the hospital. I called them out for everything under the sun. Anyway, long story short, I'm standing there after a big tirade at these people, and the duty officer of the command we were in came down. I said, "Oh, g'day, boss. What brings you here?" He goes, you. I said, "What?" I said, "Well, the hospital's called the station to have you removed." I didn't think I'd gone that far. Apparently I did. But it wasn't picked up on because it was a different command. The boss told me to leave. I left. It was never relayed on to my actual command. And then life went on again. Until that next one that you just mentioned about the critical incident.
Yeah, with the taser, and then in this time too, mate. This is a busy year for you because the critical incident happens with the girl, and then you're seconded to Redfern Regional Enforcement Squad, and then you're hospitalised in this time as well.
So we had the girl with the tourniquet, and then we had a night shift not long after that. That I don't know who stuffed up. First response was not met. For those that aren't in the cops, first response is a certain amount of staff you need to have to operate a station.
Mm.
No sergeants had been rostered on for the Saturday night shift. So the duty officer was the inspector, the sergeant, and the custody manager. And he was more than incompetent of even doing one of them. So, and I think I was the second highest rank on that night, and I only had a couple of years under the belt. So it was very junior, very inexperienced, and the most senior person that was there had just transferred in from out the country a couple of weeks before, so not much help, really, as like finding their feet at the new station. So we got a job, male in a drug psychosis on the rooftop at a penthouse apartment, Neutral Bay. Lights and sirens, code red, flew down there. I was like, hell yeah. Like, I just loved the action. I didn't care what it was. I had to be first there, which is probably to my detriment in the future because, I don't know, I don't like being second, so it's always first there. And I rock up out the front of the apartment block and there's these two girls standing there and one of them says, "You need more backup." I was like, "No, let me upstairs." She goes, "No." She goes, "He's huge. You need more people." I was like, how big can this bloke be? Anyway, two more cars rocked up. Happy days. I was like, up we go. It's a rooftop party. There's people everywhere. So we form a line, push through, get to the top balcony area, and there's this bloke. And yeah, I think he was a big fella. Like, I'd say probably about 6 foot, 130, 140 kgs, and just solid. And he was off chops. He'd had a bad batch of something. Anyway, he's pacing around this balcony, and I'm trying to talk to him, trying to distract him. There was officers coming around from behind him because it was a penthouse. You would get around behind. And coming around behind was a fairly new probationer and the new bloke from the country, and I had him face to face. So I'm trying to talk to him. I'm getting closer to him, and in my head I'm like, I've just got to be able to get a shot on him, like a jab or something to distract him so we can just pile on him. I've just got to get him away from this balcony. Now I'm moving forward, trying to chat with him. He's off with the pixies. between me and him was like a park bench, like that style of table with the wooden chairs that are connected. I used to see it at all the kids' parks. I'm on one end of it, and I said, "Oh, mate, I'm Ben. Just come and take a seat with me." He's picked up this entire table and just launched it at me. And the planks of wood off it have snapped off. There's wood flying everywhere. He's turned, looked, and just jumped off the balcony head first like it was a pool. While that's happening, he's gone off. I've looked next to me, and there's the probationer with the taser out, with the cords over the end of the balcony. And I thought, oh shit, this is not good. Anyway, old mate's gone head over heels, landed head first into the next level's balustrade. He's out for the count. Like, he's, as far as we knew, he was dead.
Mm.
Anyway, we all gather. I'm like, boys, this is going to be a critical incident. I was like, this is not going to be fun for any of us. Let's get the boss here. Boss turns up, explain what happened to the boss. And I said, so it's a critical incident. And he goes, no, it's not. I was like, well, what? He goes, it's not a critical incident. I was like, yeah, boss, I'm pretty... Okay, whatever. As this happens, I think it was a self-harm and a broken ender came over. And all our crews are tied up here. This bloke's stuck on a balcony. We've got roads shut, everything. So the boss goes, oh, can you go do those jobs? It's like, yeah, sweet. So finish talking with them. Media's there and everything. Go do those jobs, come back to the station. Then get called to another job after that. Some malicious damage. Get back and I was like, boys, we need to write in our notebooks what happened. I was like, this is going to be a critical incident. Like, taser deployed, negotiating, bloke off balcony. I was like, this is it. No, nothing. So I go home after that night shift. A couple of hours later, get a call from a detective inspector saying, oh, you need to come in. There's a critical incident you've been involved in. So, oh, no shit. We all come in, no sleep. Like, it was pretty horrific especially for the probationer that shot the taser. Like, I was talking to him as he went. Everyone there had some sort of a connection to the end result of him going off the balcony. So we get briefed by the investigating team that's doing the investigation. And the detective inspector goes, oh, what was everyone's roles that night? Just we're sitting by the table. And I was like, oh, I was 3-5, I was first car, I was main contact, this is blah, 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 he did this. Gets to the inspector, the duty officer of the night. He goes, oh, what were you doing, sir? And this bloke goes, oh, I was fast asleep up in the duty officer's office with my legs on the table. And then laughed as if we're all going to laugh with him. Bear in mind, he was the supervisor that night. He was the inspector that night. He just... I have no idea how a neglected duty didn't get thrown in there, but he thought it was the funniest thing. Not to mention he refused to call it a critical incident until someone else did. Not to mention he had the authority to get more staff in, so we actually had leadership that night. But that's another story. If I get worked up about managerial stuff, I won't stop. So we'll just leave it there. But yeah, so that investigation was a shocker. I knew all of us had done the right thing. But anyone that's been involved in a critical incident investigation, they have to cover everything. So there's no public scrutiny. There's no questions.
Dot the I's, cross the T's.
Yeah. And it's a part of the job that sucks, but it has to be done. And they did a hell of a job. Like, I think my ERIS went for 4 hours. Drawing diagrams, looking at pictures, and trying to remember justifications for different things, like at the academy, all on no sleep. It went on and on and on and on. And that took it out of me big time. And took it out of the other guys as well. After the whole investigation finished, the probationer that fired the taser, he did a hell of a job. The taser malfunctioned. So they timed up the footage to the audio to all the witness accounts. He pulled the trigger and the taser took 3 seconds to deploy. So to the public, it looked like we tasered old mate off the roof. And that's what it looked from an investigative point of view. That's what it looks like. If you got 20 witnesses saying that's when you saw the taser deployed, yeah, understandably, this looks not kosher. But yeah, if the taser deployed when the probationer pulled the trigger, it would have saved all the drama. He did a stellar job. And definitely didn't get any credit for it. It was a critical incident. It's very rare to get any praise out of something like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, for him to have to sit on that for as long as he has, good on him as well. And he's still on the job. As far as I got told, he just got a sergeant spot.
Oh, good on him.
So it makes me feel a bit old, but still kicking.
But proud, mate, as well, in the same sense that you were training him and he's now a sergeant. So
yeah, he was never one of my direct probationers, but we're on the same team, and I watched him go from probably to Connie, a senior Connie, to now sergeant. So good on him.
Absolutely. I mean, mate, in that same year, so that happens, critical incident, leadership not there, but we'll leave that one alone. And I've got a question right towards the end of the podcast where we'll address that and your thoughts. So you'll get to that in a little bit down the track. But mate, this same year you were hospitalised from you attend an incident where so you come back from your Redfern region enforcement squad and then you're back in GDs and you're hospitalised from an incident. Yeah. Talk me through this.
Yes. So my career was always plainclothes uniform, uniform, different things. If I put all the times together, I did exactly half my career in plainclothes, half my career in uniform. So I describe myself as just a GD's cop that got to do some cool shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was at Redfern Res for a little bit, came back and our detectives at the time had done a vehicle stop on the Gore Hill Freeway. Anyway, I turned up. I was like, do you guys need a hand searching? They're like, no, there's nothing here. I was like, can I just have a look at the car? They're like, why? I was like, let me just have a look through the car. Anyway, I'm kneeling on this seat while I'm searching it, and it was covered in what I thought was water. And I was soaked in it. Anyway, I found this bottle of clear liquid, did the usual shake of it. Definitely not water. You can tell if it's like GHB or different drugs like that by the way the bubbles come up. It appears like water, but it's got a different consistency. So I shook it up, showed it to the Ds, said, drugs. They're like, what? It's like, drugs. And I went, oh, he was pouring bottles of water out the window when we pulled him over. I was like, oh, well, I guarantee it's drugs. I thought nothing of it. Ds took him off. Happy days. I'm back at the station doing paperwork, and I'm sitting there and I'm getting dizzy, getting a bit of a headache, and then I was like, oh, this computer work's killing me. Then my leg starts getting itchy. I'm scratching my leg. I'm like, what's going on here? I look down at my cargo pants, and they're meant to be blue. Where it was wet had turned like white and purple, like acid. And I was like, what the frick? Like, it just didn't make sense. And then I'm starting to feel sick as a dog. I went to the supervisor's office. I was like, I'm feeling crook as. I'm like, I've got some substance on me in this vehicle search and whatever. As that's happened, the detectives have come in and said, you wouldn't believe it, we just got a bottle full of fentanyl. And back then, no one had heard of fentanyl. It was an American thing that people would use patches or something for. I was like, I don't even know what that is. So I've Googled it. We're like, oh, that doesn't sound great. Anyway, my supervisor, he goes, I'll just call the hospital, see if you should wash it down or something. Anyway, next minute, the phone slams down. I get grabbed by the back of the neck, thrown in the back of the supervisor's car, and we're going lights and sirens to the hospital. I'm going, what the hell is going on? He's like, dude, you can die. I was like, I don't know. I thought it was a stitch-up. A mammoth stitch-up, but I thought it was a stitch-up.
Like a prank or something.
Yeah. And then we're going lights and sirens. I was like, okay, yeah, maybe not a prank, but overreacting. I get rushed on. They were waiting for me. It was great. I cut my clothes off, throw them out, chuck me in this fucking shower pit while they're putting a fluid into me and injecting me with all sorts of stuff. And yeah, apparently dropping that stuff on your raw skin can hit you pretty hard. I think they said I was very lucky that my pants at the time was so baggy that it sucked the majority of it in, like 99% of it. And it was just the remnants of it that was causing the irritation that made me start to feel crook. But that was a bit scary.
Yeah. Lucky, dude. Yeah.
I still underestimate the seriousness of it until I watched a documentary on Netflix about fentanyl. I was like, oh, I've heard of that. I was like, oh, yeah, that could have been bad.
And it just goes to show, mate, another day in the life of a general...
Just a GD's copper.
Yeah, just and pulling a simple pull over, at a traffic stop.
Just backing up a D's car.
Yeah, and it just goes... It's just wild and just, yeah. So, mate, that happens. We're very close to you get hospitalised. And then, mate, you are seconded again to Maroubra.
Yes.
How is your mental health at this point?
It wasn't tracking well. I wasn't handling being at the command I was at. My best mate, Tyrone, he got a sergeant's spot at Maroubra. And he never said it, but I know that he could tell things weren't great. So he wanted me to get closer, get me over to that crew of people over at Maroubra. At the time, it was a really tight group. Everyone was workers. It was a great spot. It was a lot busier than what I was used to, but the morale was so much higher because the guys at that time were allowed to do their job. They weren't getting tied up with what the politics that was slowly creeping in at that stage. So I was keen. I was surrounded by, the team was young, supervisors were great. I was excited for it. But I realised it wasn't where I was that was making things hard for me. Got to the stage where I'd be sitting in the car before I go into work, just crying my eyes out, not knowing why, and I just couldn't go in. But as any cop knows, you can't just not go in. So I'd go in, I'd get the shift done. I can't even remember any of the trips home from when I worked there. I remember the anxiety and the panic attacks that were kicking in whenever I'd go to work. And then one night shift, it was like any night shift. It had a good wrestle, lock up, beginning of the shift. Two favourite things. Then job came over of a self-harmer. So a 14-year-old girl threatening to jump off a balcony. I remember the sinking feeling of shit, like this is happening again.
Back to old mate with the critical incident.
Well, got the critical incident. We got the guy coming out the window. It was a blur getting to that job, and I'm scared crapless of heights. If I can not climb the ladder or something, I will not do it. I don't even remember pulling up to the job or what happened, but I remember standing on this roof. I'd climbed up a ladder, jumped onto the roof and was walking across the guttering on the edge. And it wasn't till I was midway through it I came to. I went,
What am I doing up
this
here?
is not good.
Mm.
The kid seen me on the balcony, darted back in to the room, and then the other boys had kicked the bedroom door in and got her. And because everyone was so gung-ho at Maroubra, it wasn't a question about who's doing the job, whoever touched her did it. It was just wrapped up. That was the first night shift. So I went to bed, woke up the next afternoon, and my partner at the time had off milk. Just, it had been sitting in the fridge too long. And she poured it down the sink, and I don't know why or what happened. I had an absolute rage flip out. Apparently it was pretty crazy. All I remember is coming to on the floor, just in hysterics. And I didn't know what it was. I hadn't thought about mental health. I just thought my emotions and feelings before that were fatigue, and everyone gets tired, you're working hard. But that's when I felt that my brain had snapped. To have a blackout and not remember what had happened is a scary place to be in. I told my partner not to tell anyone, and that I was going back to work that night. So I went to work and asked to be put on station. And at this stage, credit to her, she called one of my best mates who's in the job, said, can you give me a hand? I don't know what's happened to Ben. And he's called one of our other mates to ask what should we do. But he was a supervisor, and he saw the red flags. So I got a call from him, and he's like, mate, you're going home now. Just go home. I was like, nah. I said, I don't take time off work. Anyway, as the worm goes in the cops, everyone finds out. Next minute, the actual supervisor comes out. He's like, you're going home. I was like, I'm not affected by this. I said, I've only been in the cops 5 years. This doesn't happen. I said, why are all these guys here? They're 30 years in. I said, this isn't me. I'm just tired. Anyway, got the call from a duty officer saying you're not coming back. Go see a doctor. And then that's when things went really dark in my life. When I accepted help and started seeing psychs and psychologists, and I was like, I can't believe I'm fried like this. I'm too young to be fried. So I was in denial for a long time. And I still wanted to be a cop. I was like, I wouldn't accept it. Went through all the processes. You had to do trauma courses at St John of God, up at Burwood, in which they were helpful but not great, because they did police-specific classes. And when you get a group of damaged first responders together, it almost becomes like a pissing contest on who's more broken than the other. And so then I'm sitting there going, I don't even want to be here. People are questioning because I've only been in 5 years, am I actually crook, or am I milking the system? So I got things out of the course, but it also made me more keen to just get back to work. Prove that I'm not broken. I'm still effective as a cop. So I did everything I had to do, got my clearances, all that kind of stuff, and it was about 6 months. to finally get the doctor to sign me off. Was lucky enough to get a shoe-in back into work. Got fully cleared to State Crime Command at the gang squad, which it was the gang squad, and as I got there, it had changed over to the criminal group squad. They'd merged a whole lot of units together and just made one big one. And I was lucky enough to be put on one of the best teams of investigators I've ever worked with. I told them my background, career, personal, mental, and they were bloody legends. And I was lucky enough to come in midway through a strike force called Strike Force Kindra, which I think Channel 9 did a TV special on it midway through last year. But it was a big bust involving OMCG, Asian crime, pseudoephedrine importation. There was illegal tobacco importation. The job was bigger than Ben-Hur. There was UCs, there was hidden cameras, microphones, a whole lot. And I'm not taking any credit from the boys that were there before me because they did the hard work getting that done and not the initial lockups done. And then I've come along and I started helping the OIC of it, or compiling all the stuff for the briefs. But then being in that role, I started getting pulled into different teams to start helping with their operations, and it was everything I dreamed the cops would be. We're doing constant surveillance, we're doing trackers on cars, we're helping the tech guys install the cameras, the microphones, we're monitoring all this stuff. You had a room, I won't go into too much detail because there'd be police methodology in there, but everything you see in a movie, we were doing. And I was in there just loving it. So that initially was just meant to be a transition back into the workplace for a couple of weeks. It ended up being about a year I was there. And like some of the jobs that we got to do, I couldn't even do it justice. And the investigations that the team was doing, but individuals as well, was just like nothing I'd ever seen. They were the creme de la creme cops of the New South Wales Police Force. And I was part of it. I couldn't believe it. It was just...
Pinch yourself.
I was. It was incredible. And that ended quicker than I wanted to. I was told that I'd get my designation there and it would become a full-time spot. Communications broke down between supervisors and superintendent. Lines got crossed, got too hard. They said, "Oh, Ben, got to pick somewhere to go." I was like, gutted. But it's the way it is. You're in an organisation like the cops, if you don't roll with the punches, you're knocked out. So it's just, I was devastated, but that's what it was. So they said you can pick anywhere you want to go. I was like, all right, I'll go back to uniform. It's like, stuff it. I want to get to sergeant. Back then, you needed to have street experience. It's like I've almost got the time up to get to that, so this will be good. I thought, where can I go? I said, I hated North Sydney. I said, the next command down was Chatswood. And in that time, I was in other units. They'd merged into one station. I was like, well, I'll know half the people there. I'll know half the area. It's like, this sounds like a great idea. Fatal last words. But I said, all right, I'll go to North Shore. And I went, all right, your last day's Christmas Eve and your first day's New Year's Eve. No time in between. From working covert, very covertly, straight into uniform. Did New Year's Eve. I was lucky. My mate was a sergeant, McGee, who I talked about earlier, who's just God's gift to policing. I was with him, so I was 14 assist, and he knew where I was at. He knew my entire progression from being a probationer to being broken to being everything. he knows every part of me. So he's like, just stick with me tonight. He goes, this is going to be a shit night for you. So we got through the night, a few days off, then back. I think my first shift was a night shift again, like the last time I went back into uniform.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I turned up early. I still had some loose ends to wrap up from criminal group squad. We had telephone intercept transcripts and whatnot I had to knock out and some statements. So I was like, I'll get into work early. So I gear up, I sat down, you get a double beeper over the radio. There's reports of an active shooter at Westfield Chatswood. I was like, I didn't hear that right. And then jobs just came flying in saying armed men, handguns running through the shopping centre. I was like, oh shit. Anyway, the Westfield's only 2 blocks up from the cop shop. So I just jumped up, ran out the door. I don't know why I didn't jump in a car with someone, but I'm just legging it by myself. Anyway, the reports come on where in the shops they are. Anyway, finally, as I'm running, spot another cop. And I was like, come with me. He had no idea who I was. I had no idea who he was. I was a new guy. Run down. These guys had gone down the escalators around outside of Coles, and the guns were out. All of us, get on the fucking ground, get on the ground. Guys have spread on the ground, and these black handguns have gone flying across the ground. These little drop kicks had bought toy firearms, removed the orange tip off it, and decided to run around the shops pretending that they were terrorists. Another moment that could have ended terribly. Like,
what thoughts going through their head? Not many.
Not many. And the bullshit thing was, they were all juveniles. They got off. There was no repercussions for their...
Never worry about the terror that they caused for the shoppers going through, and you guys to not, like that could have gone to tragic circumstances.
It could have, and with the communication the way it is, when you have something like that kind of event in something so public, every witness sees something different, and they all call police, and we get
multiple
5 different versions of where they are, what they look like, what they're doing. That could have ended absolutely tragically for just civilians, for crossfire, because we were running from different areas. Westfield's huge. Cops come from different exits and entrances. But then I was like, this is exciting. I'm so glad I'm back on the truck. I was like, this is it. Oh, I'm loving this. Anyway, the boss comes in later. She goes, she's no longer in the cops. She goes, who are you? I was like, oh, I'm the new guy. She's like, why weren't you wearing a vest? Why didn't you have your active arm offender bag, the go bag? But I was like, because I didn't have a car. She's like, what do you mean? And she got at me for attending because I was half an hour before my shift started. And I was like, oh, here we go. You do a bit of
changed.
You do a bit of good, and it's just followed up by some kind of bullcrap from a boss. Anyway, that was exciting. But fair play to the boss. She put in, everyone got awards for that one because it went off flawlessly, considering what we were handed. But it was traumatising for a lot of civilians. There's news reports like Channel 7, Channel 9, all that rocked up. They interviewed some of the witnesses, and they were horrified. So it did affect people, although that's what we signed up for. It was fun. It was, the adrenaline was there, the action was there, guns out, the boys, like it was good. Yeah. It's not till you see, which we'll probably talk about later, things that do eventuate later, like in the future with Bondi and Westfield Bondi, that you go, that's not as cool as it was, because it was cool because nothing happened. Yeah. When you start seeing what actually could happen,
and innocent people get killed,
you think, why was I so damn excited about that job? So it was fun at the time, but it's because we hadn't seen at that stage how it could go.
And if you had a crystal ball, mate, that you would see that, you know, Westfields again, a few years down the track, that, you know, 6 people lost their lives, and then the recent Bondi shooting, if you had a crystal ball that day, you might have, you know.
Beauty of hindsight.
100%. Yep.
You could judge everything differently,
Yeah, and then, so that happens. You're back.
I'm back in blue.
Back in blue, mate. Back in GDs, and then, mate, this is where you come to a bit more media spotlight, and you attend a nursing home fire, mate. And talk me through. Was this the one that was very in the media with the bloke that's...
No. That's the Quakers Hill one.
Different one.
Yeah, this is a different one.
Right. So
definitely not as high profile as or tragic as the Quakers Hill fire.
So talk us through this one.
Excuse me. Wasn't long after I got to the command, I think. Yeah, 2017. My offsite was the start of a night shift. It's like the start of any horror story now these days. It was just the start of a night shift, and he had to get a statement off a witness. So I was like, you go in the witness room, I'll just hang around. Yeah, double beeper comes over, which I don't know if I explained it properly. A double beeper is on the police radio when there's an urgent job that needs urgent attention. The radio gives 2 sharp
beep beep
beeps. So it goes beep beep. That's the best singing you'll get out of me. But that's when you know game's on. So the beep beep, nursing home fire, and it was at Linfield, and we were at the station at Chatswood, so it's not far. So I just swung the door open. I said, "Mate, your interview's over. Get in the car." Anyway, offside, I was a bit confused because he didn't have the radio on. He's taking a statement. So hooking it down, and first car there, we get there, I jump out, and it's just smoke billowing down this nursing home driveway. I run up, and I was in a, as you call it, tunnel vision, or I call it focused, but definitely tunnel vision. I was running, and I tried to run into where the fire is because there was people still trapped inside the building, and the heat and the smoke, bushka. As I've stepped back, there's 2 junior cops behind me that just followed me in. Bloody legends, Chris and Amelia. And I've stepped back, we've all tried again, and it was like if you haven't experienced fire, you would know.
I know
with
this,
the rurals,
yep.
that it's like a wall. Like you can't get through it. There's no oxygen. There's
the heat,
the
radiant heat. Yep.
And dark. Like the power was gone. It was horrendous. It burns. Like not the fire. Like the smoke burns.
Yep.
So like, what do we do? And the fireys were still down the road getting all their gear together. And then at the time I was like, I wish these guys would just hurry up. What are they doing mucking around? Turns out it's handy to have breathing apparatuses at a fire. I learnt later on.
Hence why we wear them, mate.
Yeah, I learnt that later on in this job that we went to. So we've run around the side, and you touch the windows of this unit, and it was red hot. We're trying to figure out what units are what. Pitch black smoke, like we're choking on it. And Amelia, my offsider, says, I can hear someone screaming for help. I was like, what? She goes, someone's screaming for help. And there's this unit that just has smoke billowing out of it above us. And there was a bloke in the bathroom trapped, completely trapped, because the fire was on the ground floor. So you couldn't get up or down the stairs. And thank God the fire is rocked up, bang on that. They've laddered, gone up. Chris has gone round the side and got one of the neighbours adjoining properties has thrown a ladder over for Chris. He's propped it up at one window and got another bloke down that side. I was like, happy days. Fiery still hadn't got the hoses up yet. So genius me, I get the garden hose out and I found the unit that was on fire, and it was on just the perfect angle that I could get the hose in without the flames and the heat getting me through the brick. So putting the fire out, or trying to put it out, getting what I could from the window out, and then pushing the fireys, blast the door in with the hose, and all that broken glass has then come out at me from the impact of the hose. And jeez, I remember us having a good laugh watching the body worn back, where I'm there looking like an old granny with a hose trying to put it out, and it's like a grenade goes, it's like bush, and there's glass everywhere. And you just go, drop a big F-bomb on that. So the smoke's still going. Then I climb up one of the ladders on the adjoining side and go, idiot, into the unit, pitch black, thinking there's still someone else in here. Fireys managed to get that person out that I was trying to get to. Anyway, we start walking down back to our car, me, Chris and Amelia. And I'm feeling a bit woozy, but I thought it was just adrenaline going because it was chaotic. And I'm feeling a bit woozy, and then Amelia just drops on the ground, passed out. I was like, oh, that's not good. We get her, Ambo's pulled up, and I was like, I think we're all pretty crook from this fire. And so it was pretty fun. I got a selfie of us all in the one ambulance with the oxygen masks on, Amelia strapped down to the bed. And we get rushed off the hospital, and we have to stay there all night just to flush out all the toxin. Mm-hmm. It was like a terrible hangover. There was no good story for the lead-up of it.
Smoke inhalation's never fun, mate.
Oh, it felt like rubbish. Like I couldn't even put it into words. It's just, I don't know. It's just a shocking feeling. But it was funny. Obviously, they called our emergency contacts. Mm-hmm. I'm laying in the bed, and they've closed the curtains, and there's 2 inspectors, a supervisor, someone else, and I could hear my dad's voice. And I could hear someone say, "Oh, you should go speak to Ben. He's a hero. He did this. He's a hero." Blah blah blah. And I'm sitting there going, "What? No, I'm not. Like I'm an idiot." But then, as the more I said, I was like, maybe I did do a good job. You know, the thoughts come in sometimes. Like, yeah, actually, I handled that pretty well. Mm. Anyway, my old man walks in. Love him to death. He comes in and he goes, "Mate," and yeah, he goes, "There's a fine line between a hero and an idiot. Pick one." And I was like, "Oh, yep, grounded, absolutely grounded." Mm-hmm. I was like, "You're right. You're absolutely right." Anyway, so I was like, let's just forget about this job. It's done.
Yeah, no, not a chance, mate.
Nah, well, High Command decided it was a great PR stunt, whatever it is. I get a call, literally, it was about 3 hours after discharge from hospital, saying you need to be in court uniform. The news is at the station to interview you all. I said, nah, not doing it. And the boss goes, oh, it's a cancelled rest, which a cancelled rest shift is a lot of money. I was like, I'm in. I'm coming. Anyway, so the 3 of us rock up, not knowing what's going on. We'd hardly slept. Literally just been discharged from hospital. Mm. It's like, oh, they just want to ask you a couple of questions. I'm like, all right. So it would just be like, we thought it might be the North Shore Times. Mm. We walk into the meeting room at the station, and there's Channel 10, Channel 7, Channel 9, ABC, all there with cameras, microphones, lights. Mate,
I've been on live TV, so I know exactly what you're describing.
And no lead up to the questions. Like, they didn't tell you what was coming.
Yep.
Well, the other 2 handled themselves well. I was a stunned mullet. If you look at it, you could tell I hadn't slept. Mm.
You can see the footage. You can see.
Yeah, there's footage that's up online that I didn't know what day of the week it was. I was just thinking about the next paycheck that was going to come in with my cancelled rest. So we're like, happy days. That'll keep the bosses happy. Let's go home to bed. A couple of days after that, we get another call from the boss. Oh, you guys are booked to be interviewed on 2GB with Ben Fordham. I was like, oh, is it a cancelled arrest? Like, no, you just have to do the interview and that'll be a whole shift. I was like, that's more money. So I called the other two. I said, are you guys doing this? Like, oh yeah, they said we had to. I was like, yeah, okay, well, you got a whole shift to be interviewed for 10 minutes. Like, think of the cash money, boys and girls. Anyway, we get there, and it was not your average Ben Fordham show. It was a live show he was doing. So there was an audience and everything there. Rock up, we go, oh my, stitched up again. No, not knowing what the questions were. We listened to it back, and I'd had plenty of sleep, and I still sounded like an idiot. So I'd say, oh, live TV is not. Oh, what did I say? You got a head for radio. So yeah, that was like, it was interesting seeing the different ways, and I stayed in touch with one of the journalists, the Channel 9 journalist that did the story. Her name was Tiffany Genders.
I've heard of Tiffany Genders.
Yeah, the main crime reporter. I have never met a more impartial journalist towards police as Tiffany Genders. You even see in some of her reports now, she's pro-police, and it's and like when she has to call out bad cops, she calls them out, so she should. I'm all for that. But she's one of those ones that really gives a story, and she did it for us as well. Like, her story, like, I'll admit, it pumped us up a lot more than we did. Like, it did. And I don't know if it was for ratings or for the command's purpose, but she could have easily just put it into nothing. Like, the ABC did sweet nothing. Channel 7, the reporter was a creep and just wanted to talk to the female officer involved. And 10 just does their usual thing. But that was the one time I'd actually stopped and gone, not all journalists are bad. And she would rock up to different jobs, and she would recognise me and give us a wave and a chat, or we'd be on a traffic point. So it was a good experience. I didn't choose for it to all go as big as it did, but hey, it was something I hadn't experienced, and I can add it to the bucket list. And then, yeah, got a call from the commissioner that night. Actually, no, it was the next week. I was back at work and I was driving, and my phone started ringing. I just on our usual patrols. I answered the phone. I said, "G'day." He goes, "Is that Ben?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, it's the Commissioner, Mick Fuller." I went, "Oh." Actually, the first thing I said was, I went, "Oh, shit. Sorry, boss." And he goes, "Can you talk?" I was like, yeah, boss, I can. Actually, I'm just driving. And he goes, "Yeah, you might want to pull over if you're talking to me." I was like, "Yeah, fair call." So I pulled over, and he goes, "Oh, just saying how good of a job you did." He goes, "Oh, I did a press conference the other day and said you guys did a great job." He goes, "You and your two offsiders, I'm putting forward for commendations for this job. You saved 3 people out of that house, out of that nursing home." He goes, "I'm just waiting for the report from your duty officer." I was like, "Yeah, sweet." Not thinking, like, at the time, you didn't think of an award. Get back to the station, the duty officer goes, "Oh, I heard the commissioner called you." I said, yeah. He goes, "Did you tell him what I did?" I said, "Were you there?" He goes, yeah, I was. I was like, "Oh, sorry, bro, I didn't even see her." I said, "Sorry, I was in a burning building, then in hospital. I didn't see her."
Too busy doing the job, yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, so you just talked yourself up?" I said, "I didn't talk about myself once, boss, but yeah, whatever." He goes, "Well, the commissioner's waiting on a report from me for the incident for awards." And I was like, "Yes, whatever, sweet." He goes, "Okay." And the shifty comes in, and he was a salty dude. And he goes, "Oh, just so you know, I didn't put anyone's names in the report. I just said it was a team job." Which, if he'd said that from the start, I would have had no problem. Because everyone in the team played a role in that. From road closures to the 2 with me, to the other ones helping get statements, to escort evacuating other residents. Yeah, it was a bloody good team job. But because he did it out of spite, yeah, I wrote him off pretty quick after that. So yeah, It's just what it is, though. You don't do it for the awards. It's nice when you get them, but I'm not caught up about it. It's just part of the story,
part of the job,
of what happened.
Yeah. So your dad's very humbling, though, to humble you very quickly to go, there's a line of being a hero and an idiot. And you had that line. And
he's straight to the point. There's no beating around the bush with my old man. He's my best friend in this whole wide world. And if I need to be told, he tells.
Yeah. And, you don't do it for awards, mate, but it's nice to be recognised. And, just a salty boss, mate, that unfortunately... they exist. They're there.
They're there. You just got to work with them, work around them. It is what it is.
So I want to go forward after that incident. I want to go forward to a couple of years down the track, mate. And like as you said, if we went through every single incident in your career, we'd be here all day.
Yeah,
but COVID hits, mate. And how hard was policing during COVID?
I would honestly say it's the easiest policing I've ever done.
Really?
I loved it.
Yeah, right.
It was... No one was on the streets, and if they were on the streets, they were bad guys. It was great. And people said mental health went through the roof during COVID. People's mental health did, but they didn't call us. We weren't going to constant jobs all the time. Streets were empty, shifts were easy. COVID lockdown didn't really feel like lockdown because we'd work all day, do our block. Then on my 4 days off, I'd usually just hibernate and sleep anyway, then go back to work. So it didn't feel like there was a lockdown. And in between that, I was busy. I was doing volunteer work with the Salvation Army. So I had, you get those letters, an exemption letter. I was going into the city, and with my old man, we were help feeding homeless people that couldn't get any resources or anything. So my job and doing the work with the Sallies was keeping me busy. Then we had our deployments where when Melbourne turned into Mexico, we had the big wall. I went down for 3 weeks in a row to a small town called Barham.
Where's that?
So it's on the Murray River. I'm not good with my geography out there. I think it's up from Albury. You could throw a stone, because we just had to block one bridge and make sure, called them the Mexicans, didn't come over the wall. But that was fun. That was relaxed. It was good. It turned a bit chaotic when they dropped the lockdown laws for a couple of weeks in between cycles of the numbers going up and down. And you could go to pubs, and people went a bit feral at that stage. I had an incident. I went in to do a business inspection. I was standing in the foyer, and one of the Sydney first grade rugby union teams tried to get in the front. Security out the front, outside the glass doors, and they were declined because they were maggot. And the front row forward decided to punch the security guard square in the head while he didn't know we were standing there. Anyway, I've flown out the door. The guy was massive. All I could do was put him in a headlock. And it was all on the ground, and we surrounded the ground. And my probationer got too scared, so stood outside the crowd and watched the whole wrestle happen. And that had an effect on me. It flicked something in my head where the PTSD was rolling back. I wasn't feeling great. I then lost trust in people. It sounds just like a normal job, just a wrestle. Guy got scared, couldn't hack it, but it hit me a lot harder than I should have. And so then I started to deteriorate really quickly after that. There was a nothing job the next block. I can't remember. It was a pursuit that didn't go far. Terminated. Happy days. and it rocked me. I remember one of the sergeants came out and he goes, "Oh, you're all right." And I was pulling it together well. As soon as he asked me if I was all right, I broke down. And we sat out in the smoking area at Chatswood Cop Shop we sat with me for about 2 hours. I couldn't get it together. It was upsetting because it was like what had happened all over again, where I didn't see it coming. I should have seen it coming, but I don't know. It was just, and then it was this awkward thing because we were pretty close, man, the sergeant, and I could see it was getting a bit awkward, and he kept looking at my gun on my hip, and obviously, like, he needed to take it. That's part of the protocol with mental health in the cops. But I think he was nervous to ask for it, and it got really awkward. And I said to him, "Oh, Sarge, do you want to grab it or do you want me to hand it to you?" And he's like, "Oh, thank fuck." He goes, "Oh, what do you want to do?" And I was like, "I'll just take my belt off, Sarge." And he's like, just go home. And then, yeah, I was off sick again.
So you go off on stress leave, mate. What's happening next?
I was lost. Didn't know if up was down, down was up, left was right. It was the brain had carked itself. I was feeling sorry for myself, locked myself in the house, and it was only a couple of days after I went off. My partner at the time said, "Let's just go walk the dogs. You need to get out, clear your head, clear the air." And I was like, "All right, let's just wait for the sun to start to go down. We'll go out." I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't want to see anyone. Start walking the dogs, and I hear this woman scream, like blood-curdling scream. And I was like, "What's that?" And my ex-partner's not a cop, but she was like, nothing, let's turn down this street." And I was like, "No, I can hear something." And the cop instincts kicked in. So I'm looking, and this lady comes running out of a unit block in a bathrobe screaming, "Help, help, call the police," with an African bloke chasing her up the street in this psychosis. He was foaming at the mouth. Anyway, work mode's kicked in. I've jumped in. I remember yelling at my ex. I was like, "Call the cops, say off-duty cop needs help." Anyway, I've run in, full-on wrestle with this bloke. He was as strong as an ox. I was struggling, brother. And we're going at it. He gets a few cheeky elbows in the face, which has distracted him enough. Anyway, car crew's rocked up. I remember I said, give me your cuffs." And this cop I'd never met, he was a brand new probationer, had started in that couple of days I've been off, just threw me his handcuffs. I've cuffed up the bloke and then walked away. I just left. Never heard a thing again about it.
Wow.
No, there wasn't a follow-up call for a statement, or I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he got charged, what he got charged. So that night I was pretty angry at the organisation. Not that I wanted someone to come check on me, because I didn't want them to, but then I was upset that no one did. And it's this hard juggling act where if they did try to contact me, I probably would have told them to get stuffed, but then I'm angry that they didn't contact me. And I think it's a struggle a lot of cops on stress leave or that have left the job face. It's this balancing act of wanting to have help but not wanting to accept it. So, yeah, I think the next day after that, it was my birthday. Went to bed on my birthday and woke up to the dogs barking and my neighbour's house was on fire. And so, once again, work mode, ran in. The neighbours were fast asleep and smashing on the door. I had one of these big metal security gates, so I couldn't even kick a door in. I went banging on it, then I run around the back, banging on the glass door, and they wake up. Anyway, the hose was broken, so they had a pool with a gate, and so I got a bucket, tossing it. Anyway, we managed to put it out with buckets as the fireys rock up. They got out, had a newborn, plus them and another fairly young child. And I put the credit on that to my dogs. The dogs picked up on it, and if they didn't wake us up, who knows? Only God knows what would have happened past that point. But here I am going, I'm meant to be on stress leave. Like, this is...
It's not normal.
This is... Why does this keep happening to me? Like,
It's like you're a magnet to it, mate.
Yeah. What was that nickname going around for a while? The shit magnet.
Yeah.
Old Sergeant McGee, he holds king shit magnet. And he's the king of us all. And then he just bred us little shit magnets in that just it follows us wherever we go. But would I change it? Probably not. It's life. It's the life I've had. So yeah, that's all happened, and not long after that, I had issues with my neck throughout my career from a number of car accidents, shit wrestles, getting blows to the neck, whatnot. So I decided to finally go get an MRI, and about a week later I was booked in for emergency spine surgery because my disc in my neck had actually ruptured and had crushed my spinal cord.
Oh, shit.
So I'd been working with... I thought I'd pulled a muscle in my shoulder. Turns out that was just a nerve damage. Because I only went to the doctor, my fingers started going numb. And I was like, oh, this probably isn't right. Well, I've got the time off, I might go see a doctor. And, yeah, so I went for surgery for that. And funnily enough, I was in hospital recovering for 5-6 days. Got discharged. Had one night at home, and then my son was born. Which, wow, was not ready for that.
Changes your life, mate.
It does. And he came a month early as well, so it was a tough trot. Trying to deal with the mental health, the post-surgery, and now you have a little human around. I didn't cope with it well. I don't know what it was. I couldn't, because of my mental state, I couldn't emotionally connect with my son. And it feels terrible saying that as a father. I just couldn't be around him. And that was purely where my head was at that stage with what was going on. And I know life just got very hard after that.
Did it get dark, mate? Like we'll talk about what happens later, but is it thoughts coming in at this point?
Yeah, and like I'll be honest, I haven't spoken about this side of things to anyone. I'm sure some people will hear this podcast will get a shock, but yeah, it was tough. There's no other word for it. I wasn't feeling adequate as a person, let alone a dad. I couldn't even stay at work, which to me that was my identity. That was who I was. So if I couldn't do that, so here I am pretending to be a father, plus trying to recover on all sorts of pain meds on endone through my ears, and yeah, it was a dark time when it should have been the best time of my life. And with the medication that I was on for the pain and the mental health, my memory of that time, I just rely on the photos. I don't.
It's like you're a zombie. You weren't here.
That's it. It just, yeah.
Purely just existing, mate.
That was it. Yep. So yeah, it was hard being at home at that stage. I couldn't be at home. It was too too calm being at home, but then too chaotic having a newborn that I was like, what do I know? Policing. I've just got to get back. I've just got to get back to being on the road. And so I just did everything I could to get back to work, which probably in hindsight was too quick. But it is what it is. That's what happened. I went back to work.
That's all you knew, mate. It's that purpose. It's getting back to your purpose of a job that you love that is secretly, it's destroying you, but you love it and it gives you purpose, it gives you direction, and the only way that you know is to get back to being and doing that job, to then that will balance out the rest of your life. Like that.
Whenever work was good, life was good. So you're always striving to try and just make that next day better at work, which is probably the wrong structure for life, for well-being.
Yeah.
But in my world, when the job was good, life was good. So I just craved to have that again. So yeah, I ended up getting cleared. I did my tests and everything. They said I was right for work. I wasn't. In hindsight, I can tell you right now, I don't know who the hell signed off those paperwork on the cop side, but they should not have let me back. If you'd spoken to me then, they made the perfect decision. It's what I wanted. It's where I wanted to be. That was my purpose. But yeah, I went back to work and I was acting sergeant almost straight away. And that was where my goal was to be. I was always wanted to become a sergeant, and I was relieving sergeant constantly, and I was good at it. Like, I know it sounds terrible, I boast myself up, but I thrived under the pressure of making decisions, and I also loved teaching young cops things that I'd learnt. So it was that perfect middle ground of still being involved in the action, still making big decisions, and then also being able to mentor people at the same time. I thought I was where I was set to be. And yeah, I enjoyed that aspect of it. Yeah.
And then you're acting sergeant at this point, and mate, another day, you save a young girl. Talk me through this day.
Yeah, this was a strange one. That it came about because of a mix-up in communication with our radio systems. But we have in our cars the MDT, the computer inside the car.
We've got the same in the fires, MDTs,
It pops up with the jobs we're meant to have. You know, we just started, like always, the night shift, and we're driving down towards the Lane Cove Tunnel, and pops up on the screen. Self-harm, woman attempting to self-harm off the overpass into the tunnel. And I was like, did anyone hear that on the radio? And we had a brand new pro with us. It's me, another senior constable, and the brand new pro. And he's like, what? I said, this is where we are. And so we literally were at a red light, and we looked around, and this woman came running up to the car and said, oh, thank God you're here. She's just down there. I was like, what's going on? Like, it was just a very confusing state. And I said, what's happened? She goes, my daughter, she's about to jump into the tunnel. I was like, oh, shit. So I was lucky my offside at the time, he was a senior connie. He'd been around about as long as me, so he knew the drill. We didn't have to talk about it. I went down behind her. It was in the bush. Like, you couldn't even find it if you didn't know it. You had to go through the bush down around. And there's a railing around the drop off into the tunnel, and she was on the other side of the railing, motioning forward, like she was trying to hype herself up to
do it, to
tumble
go
off.
Yeah.
And my offsider has gone in front of her to distract her and started making communication with her. And she's just focused on him. She's like, fuck off, go away, leave me alone, leave me alone. So I had to, if you haven't snuck through the bush, and I think any defence guys that listen to the podcast, they don't know exactly what it's like. It's very hard to be quiet. In all the foliage.
Trying to be stealth.
Trying to be stealth with no stealth training, no military, like, what could go wrong?
Yep.
So I'm focusing on what I've learned on movies. I'm trying to Rambo my way up through the bush behind her. And she was that fixated on not only jumping, but my offsider, who, thank God he was up there, I was able to creep up behind her, bear hug her from the hips, and she was a larger girl. And then I was stuck because there was the railing. I was like,
what am I doing? What do I do now?
One, what am I doing? Like, how do I get here? Did not plan this one out. And the poor girl, she was so emotionally drained that she just collapsed of exhaustion. But she was still on the other side of the railing. I'm going, oh, shit.
I've got to get her off here.
Like, oh, here's another critical incident coming my way. Yeah, I managed to slide her through, like, the gap in between the railings. And we fell on the ground, and it was the first time I'd hugged a victim. And it wasn't like it was just a release of my stress, because I still had her gripped in my arms. And she just burst into tears, and there was no fight after that. I'm like, we've got to go to the hospital. She's like, let's go. And we walked up, and we did the usual paperwork. She got admitted, and it was a long time later. I got approached by the youth liaison officer. She's in charge of the PCYC. She said, "Oh, did you save a girl like 2 years ago?" I was like, "What girl?" It's like, you know how many jobs we do. It's like,
they all blend into one job.
They blend into one. There's 3 or 4 self-harms a shift. It's hard to remember them. She goes, "Oh, at the Lane Cove overpass," and I was like, "Yes." And she's like, "Oh, she wants to meet you and say thank you." And I wouldn't have a bar of it. I couldn't bring myself to reopen something. I knew things in my head weren't great. I was just like, and I felt like a bit of an a-hole, saying nut, tell her nut.
But what it shows me is just where your mental health was at that point. That if you had been where you are now, you might have met up with her. But it just goes to show how you were travelling mentally. You weren't good.
It wasn't good. It was more, I just want to block everything out. And so, yeah, I'd never had a victim want to make contact again. It was a really weird feeling, like knowing how close she was to doing the deed. It was unnerving. I felt I'd come across nearly every job I could as a cop. And then all of a sudden, the policing gods give you this little side blinder to be like, wake up, mate, you haven't seen nothing yet.
So that happens, mate. And so the girl wants to get in contact with the victim. You say no. And then a bit of a left of field secondment comes to you, which of all your things in policing, you're in plain clothes, you've been seconded to all these task force and squads, and mate, this next secondment is left of field, and you get seconded to the police band. Talk me through this.
The New South Wales Police Band. It sounds funny, but it was. I've got to say, it's the best gig in the cops. So it comprises of, there's 32 civilian musicians in the police band and 2 sergeants that run it. So one's a commander, one's a sergeant. Their commander had gone off ill. There was some kind of illness there. So the sergeant there, Dan, he turned into commander. He needed backup. I heard about it. I was like, got a bit of music background, know a few people in the band through family connections and social connections. So let's give it a crack. Why not? And to be honest, it's the most rewarding job I did in the cops in relation to connecting with the community. like you see all these TikTok cops or Facebook posts and just ludicrous things, trying to stay relevant. But when I was at the band, I was able to connect with all levels of the community from a friendly perspective, where whether it be a nursing home, a school visit, would do all police or ex-police funerals, concerts all over the place. It was, people came at you not hostile, and they were open to hear what you had to say. And so as being a representative of the New South Wales Police Force, I had more community connections in my time there than I did in my whole career. It's really a group in the cops that's joked about or underappreciated, or people don't even know it's there. They just think they turn up at graduations. But to take it into perspective, I think the year I was there, they did 270 gigs in that 12-month period. That's 270 public engagements representing the police force. It's community-based policing that's done by civilians. It was a very rewarding place to be. And I had a great time. The stress was zero. Let's be honest, I got to listen to world-class musicians play music every day, and me and the other sergeant were just enjoying it and making sure people didn't rip each other's heads off.
Yeah.
And like the sergeant that's full-time there, Sergeant Dan, he understood my lead up to be in that position. We were able to connect, and it was funny enough, we'd worked at the same units but at different times. So we had the same journey. He was more in front of me. But a similar journey and a similar story that we were able to bounce off each other. And it's probably safe to say it's the most content I'd been in the cops. I was getting hands-on withdrawals as a cop, so I'd be picking up user pays on the weekends just to keep that little itch scratched. But it was a really good place to be. I made some great friends there. Yeah, as funny as it sounds, it was actually... I'll take the flak for it. It was a great place to be, and I love the people that were working there with me. It was great.
And was that, looking back now, with, you know, what was to come, was it a bit of a reset for you?
Yeah, it was. It was a reset. In the home life, things weren't going too well. There was the breakdown of relationship with my son's mother and things like that. And I was trying to build that bond with my son, trying to get those early years in. But if it wasn't for going to the police band, I would have been in all sorts. I wouldn't have been able to handle GD's work and what was going on at home at the same time. They were both just as stressful as each other. So being still be able to be operational and do some sort of a role, even though it wasn't frontline, it helped the brain reset, like recalibrate to go, I'm going to be going back on the truck soon. Let's enjoy this while I'm here. It was good.
So that, you're there for 12 months?
It was about 7 months, I think it was.
7 months, and then you get back to the truck, mate, what you love.
Back on the truck.
Back on the truck, and you're back in an acting sergeant role at this point?
Yep. Yeah, so that was all going to plan.
And then this is where it sort of...
Then it didn't go to plan.
Yeah, it sort of derails a bit, and talk me through this part of... And this is where it's really starts to...
Yeah, this is the back end of the career. This is when everything started changing for good.
Yeah.
I was supervising, I was loving it. Like everyone does in that position, I think. Well, not everyone, but I did. We had an incident where there was a police-involved shooting. I was the supervisor on scene. I can't divulge too much.
Yeah.
Still got to go to coroners, and I'm not going to name people or walk through the incident at this stage, but police took down bad guy dead. Being the supervisor on scene at that was a next level of stress I hadn't really had to deal with before. The absolute chaos of it, the attention it gets, plus I was doing the welfare for the officers involved and the secondary officers that turned up. I put everything in my life aside to look after the guys and girls that were involved in that. Like most things, it was probably not seen, the amount of effort I put in. I don't know if some of them saw it as just I was ticking a box, but I definitely wasn't. I just wanted to... I knew where I'd been in the dark place, and I wanted to not have the young guys go through that. But like any incident where it's another critical incident, got to go through all that. And how do I explain it? Life got really hard. The separation with my son's mother went through, so that's a whole other ball game of all that kind of stuff and the reasons into that. The whole relationship with my son, it was getting better, but I still felt inadequate as a father. I felt like a cop first and a father second kind of thing. And the stress from the shooting and just after, it's like a roller coaster. My career, it's just been, I'm good and I'm bad, I'm good and I'm bad, I'm good and I'm bad. But I could feel this one hit slower. It was, each day got shitter. And each mistake seemed bigger than it should have been. And I started it was just reckless stuff to start with. There was pursuit policy went out the window and I just wanted blood. I'd get red mist and I'd be doing 200 over the Harbour Bridge deck trying to get to a red job. Like, in any normal mind, that is not safe. That shouldn't be happening. But I lost all care for myself. Would get a person's on premises job where someone's broken into a house. Usually you wait for backup or get a car. I'd just go in by myself. I didn't care. There was a mental health job and there was reports the guy had a shotgun. As scary as it sounds, I was really hoping he had a shotgun. And I just went in there by myself. And the ambos were saying, don't go. I was like, no, don't worry. It's fine. Because I was so unhappy with where I was that I was hoping someone else would be able to take the pressure off me, if that makes sense.
Yep. I get it.
And now in hindsight, geez, I don't know how, like the risk that I took, how nothing didn't go terribly wrong.
He didn't hurt you or someone else?
Yeah, or me doing stupid things in the car to some severe, like it was a slow burn that I should have seen coming, but I knew it was there. And it got to the point where I was looking for a new place to live. I had split with my ex-partner, but we're still in the same house. The mental health was just out the window. I was supervising one night and I hadn't slept for crap. And I went down to a spot where you can park down at the beach. And I'd convinced myself that was the last time I'd have to get ready for work again. And pulled my gun out and just put it on my lap, just looking at it. Sorry, mate.
No, take your time, mate.
And I couldn't think straight. Nothing was clicking, no thoughts were finishing. I just wanted all the drama to finish. I was sick of feeling like shit. I was sick of me making other people feel shit because of the PTSD and the behaviours and stuff that comes out from that. And I was convinced if I was to do this, it would help more people than it wouldn't. And I'd call this like a God moment. This one because years before, my best mate Nathan Sharp had killed himself, and I carried that pain from him forever. I still do. And I know him as a person that he never would have wanted other people to hurt. That wouldn't have been part of his thought process.
Yep.
And just the thought of him came into my head, and I couldn't do it. But then to think I'm sitting here with a clock on my lap, and those thoughts have been in my head. What am I doing? I felt more incompetent once I come to the realisation that I will destroy so many lives doing this. I felt shitter about myself at the same time. My head, I was meant to be gone that day. I'd even pictured that I wouldn't be having to kid up one more time. When I kidded up, I convinced myself that was the last time. So then I got my shit together, went back to the station at the end of shift, and I was so embarrassed. No one knew that I'd done that or thought that, but inside I was so embarrassed to show my face to all these people that I was their supervisor. I was the one that makes all the hard decisions at the shit jobs when we had the critical incident. I felt like a fraud, that I was pretending to know what I was doing. So I knew one of the guys in the team, one of the young constables. He had a secondment out to a strike force out west, and it was out for base at Quakers Hill, cover Mount Druitt, most of northwest Met, and then out to Campbelltown, Macquarie Fields. And it was public place shooting, so we're doing checks on high risk offenders, high risk people that might be shot, and then just doing proactive policing to find the kill cars, the firearms and whatnot. So I begged this legend of a bloke to swap with me, and I don't think he could believe I wanted to swap with him, because he wasn't keen to go out there. He's an absolute heavy hitter, and the GD's young Connie's just killing it. I was like, mate, swap. And he's like, for Connie's? It's like, I am a Connie. I'll just act get me out there. So we swapped, and literally a couple of days later, I was out on another secondment out west. That was an interesting time. It's a lot to go through, but I won't go through it all. It was Strike Force, Task Force Magnus, it was called. And basically it was a panic task force put together by the Boston politicians because the shooting went up in Western Sydney. No one had any idea what was going on. No one knew what to do. The taskings were terrible. The teams they put together was a mixed bag. There was some absolute legends to work with and some absolute assholes in the same team. So it was a juggling act. But it was with everything going on, I thought it was a solution, but it definitely wasn't. The rostering was terrible. Working ridiculous hours at ridiculous times and shifts, and that just started knocking away a bit more and a bit more. and a bit more while I was there. And eventually, that pushed me to the edge.
Mate, I just want to pause there because I've been there. I've been to that point myself. Not in the job, but with wanting to end my life. And there's many others that have been there as well. Mate, I'm so glad you're still here. And I'm so glad that you are now advocating for your brothers and sisters in blue and people who are struggling, and putting your hand up and asking for help that final time takes courage, mate. But say, you've said it was God that intervened, and I know it was for me the day that I was there 11 years ago. How, with the stigma in the job that there is, that, if it's weak, or, to put your hand up and ask for help, that final time when you actually did put your hand up and say, I'm really struggling, to then be diagnosed with PTSD, was it a relief that it wasn't like in your head to go, I'm not making this up, that this is actually like, there's finally a diagnosis to what all this trauma, and you've been just compartmentalising all this trauma over 14 years? Was it finally like a relief to be, I've actually, it's not in my head?
Not really. When I knew I went off work, and I knew I was never going back. Like when you know. The other times I didn't know. I had to I just knew I wasn't going back. When I saw it on the paper, to me it looked like an excuse. It felt like you're writing an absent note because you wagged school or something. I still didn't want to accept it. I knew it was there. I was under no illusion that I was fine. I wasn't affected by it, but I didn't want to see it. And I can't speak for anyone else, because I'm sure everyone processes that final career-making decision made by someone else differently. But I got no joy or relief out of it, because I also knew that there's still a long road ahead with workers' insurance companies just surviving. Then being a single dad, trying to work out custodies, I still didn't feel like I was able to stop having to override my brain, because all the past stuff was haunting me like to no end. But then the current stuff was haunting me as well, and that hasn't stopped. It's a struggle, and I'd love to get up on this podcast and say, all right, this is how you act when you get out of the job, this is how you act when things get tough. But I've made every mistake in the book. I wish I had the answers. So basically it's, day by day it changes. Some days are good, some days are bad. Some days I sleep all day, some days I can't sleep at all. And
that's, mate, you're fresh to transitioning, and you've just recently transitioned and been medically retired after 14 years. You've been involved in like some of the things that I've skipped over, not by, like we've there's other instances that you're involved in that, as we've said, that 14 years, general duties, proactive policing, secondment to the police band, which is an unbelievable, as you said, it was an absolute highlight.
That was the only relaxing.
secondment out of the lot. And this is, this is just highlighting, mate, that this is what, like you look to some of your mentors at 20, 30, 35, 40 years, general duties. Like,
It's just absolute rocks.
yeah,
Like
you did, and mate, you did 14, and I think, mate, I hear at every podcast that most veterans and first responders struggle with transition, mate. It is a day-to-day, because policing was your identity, mate. As you've said through this whole podcast, you felt that you were a better police officer than you were a dad. Like, throughout this whole podcast, it has been police, and I go back to your grandfather, and I think, did he do you the the right steer of steering you away from the military to then go into the police and face what you've faced as a police officer? Who knows what you would if you had have gone down the military path.
That's one of the big things I like to push. Also, you can't think about what ifs. Like, I could walk out onto the street now. I've seen plenty of pedestrians just randomly hit by cars. Like, what if we lived in what if, we wouldn't take a step forward.
Exactly.
And my whole life, his judgments are always right. So I'm going to say he probably did make the right decision. But yeah, life's just life. You have to deal with the cards you're given. And it just depends how you play them.
Definitely. No, mate, for any young player out there, what Ben just said, absolutely great. Like, great way to look at life and how life is, that you can either choose to be, poor me, like, negative attitude and the victim, or you can go, okay, these are the cards. I need to make a shitty situation a good situation and turn that into a positive. And mate, that's what you're doing. And
well, I'm trying, and like, I've made mistakes, and I'm going to make lots of mistakes in the future. I'm human. I'm trying to be the best civilian as I can. I don't know how to yet. It's with PTSD and mental health in all first responders. It's hard because we don't want to talk about it, and we think our thoughts are our own thoughts, and that we're the only ones struggling with that. And then we bottle things up, and we take it out on the ones we love, like our partners, our family, our friends, and we end up doing more damage to ourselves and others by trying to be the tough guy and saying how... Like, I'm guilty of it. Every time someone asks me how I am, yeah, I'm good, I'm fine. Because I don't want to burden other people with my bullshit. But then me not burdening them with it, I take it out on them later on when I do need their help. So for young players out there, it's a juggling act.
It's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
It's hard to find a middle ground, and you go too far it's like a pendulum. You go too far one way, you fall over. You go too far the other side, you fall over. And trying to find that middle ground of functioning as a human being without a uniform, it's really hard. And anyone that's going to go through it or has gone through it, if you're listening to this, you're an absolute trooper, because it's hard. It's bloody hard work.
Definitely. And mate, you just answered that really well with the, how policing's impacted your family, both your relationships with your ex-partner, your son, and your mum and dad. And what advice would you give to families who have a family member who is serving in the police? Would you say just be patient with them, and like, what advice would you give to them?
The first thing that comes to mind is don't try and fix them. There's nothing worse when you've been a cop or a first responder. You're the fixer. You come up with the solutions for problems. That's your job. When you lose that identity and that's taken from you, and then someone's trying to make you better, it does the absolute opposite. it's not only soul breaking for the person, but we react negatively to it, and most of the time we come out with anger or aggression because that's the first response. Like, we get, I know for cops, I can't speak for other services, but someone comes at us with aggression or staunch, we shut it down, whether that's takedown, winning a verbal confrontation, like whatever it is, we shut it down. So when we're out of the job and we've got nothing like that happening, when someone comes at us with opinions or fix-it ideas, it comes as an attack, even if it's coming from a good place. When someone's struggling with the PTSD stuff, we interpret behaviours and words very differently to what a normal person would expect that reaction to be. And I can say it because I have messed up way too many times with poor behaviour because of anger problems, because of pride. I don't want to be the weak person, but I don't know, emotions and chemicals in the brain are all out of whack. So if you've got a family member in first response, even defence, just be there. If they need someone to hold them up, be that person. But if they need the space, give them the space. So just be present, but not in the face, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, definitely, mate. Great advice. And, mate, you have been at the coalface, 14 years at the coalface. What advice would you give to senior leadership to change the current culture in policing?
Oh, mate. Dangerous question. I don't want the local D's knocking down my door for hate speech. I want management to realise that they're dealing with actual people, not numbers. Like, these people have lives, they've got families. Stop. And every boss you speak to, every management will say they care about their staff. They care about promotion. You get the rare ones that actually do. There's still rare ones out there that are for the troops. Majority aren't. And yes, we need to keep this paramilitary organisation because that's our function in society. But it's not hard to actually care or try to make people's work life as easy as possible to sustain them through the trauma and absolute bullcrap that they have to go through. So just don't be an asshole and treat them as people. Because they're extraordinary guys and girls out there at the moment doing the job that I bet those bosses couldn't do if they put a gun on their hip and got out of their armchair. With the amount of paperwork, caseloads and all of that, walk in their shoes, basically, before you condemn them.
No, I think you've answered that very, very well, mate. You could definitely take that down a different path, but
people can take it whatever path they want, but that's, I may or may not be pointing fingers there, but
it's true.
It happens.
Yeah.
It happens. And that's the reality of it.
It's very true, mate. I think, you're 100% correct in that I think most police I've spoken to, they definitely feel, especially at the coalface, especially feel that they are just a number.
Yeah.
That they are a number, that they are easily replaced. And I interviewed a superintendent from WA Police, 48 years. He just retired from the job. Actually, yesterday retired from the job.
He's listening. Congrats.
Yeah,
Solid stint.
And 48 years. And I asked him, because he's been both. He's been at the coalface and then in the management side of things. And I pitched the exact same question that I did to him, and I wanted his thoughts of being that, everyone says, we don't often speak of the people from up above, the commission, once they commission into higher ranks in the police. But it was interesting getting his perspective and, you know, from the other side of where he sat on the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
So it was. I definitely look forward to that episode coming out and seeing the other's perspective and the pressures that he felt under as well from up above him.
Yeah,
and then trying to push it down.
I also understand it's lonely at the top. The bosses don't have many friends except for bosses their same level. But we all know they can do better.
Yeah.
We'll leave it there.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good way to. We'll segue into the next.
Just do
part.
better.
Yeah, just do better, and mate, policing has changed so much from when you joined up 14 years ago, and it seems to be that all around the world now, there's so much wokeness in policing, and now police don't seem to have any power or any respect anymore, mate. Because I know when I was a kid, you know, if a police officer told you to move on, you moved on.
Yeah, 100%.
Why do you think that police have lost the respect on the streets?
It is a combination of two things in my head. Social media and also police forces adopting business-styled structures to management rather than policing structures. On the social media side, public judgment can come out a lot quicker from 2 minutes of footage than a police internal investigation. So the judgment's already made on those poor officers because of one side of the footage. Doesn't matter if the truth comes out later. We all know majority of society take TikTok and Instagram as gospel.
Yep.
When they're both furthest thing from the truth. When you look at the business structure of the organisations, and it's been adopted worldwide, it doesn't fit policing. And that in turn causes internal conflict, in managerial issues, it affects morale. So police are not going to be at their full potential on the street if they're not appreciated for what they do by their own. And that will reflect onto the community. The community sees the police aren't happy and don't want to be doing their job. It's like a mirror. It then replicates out onto the street. So there's a lot of different sides of what could be causing this. And it's a worldwide issue. I was speaking to some cops from the UK the other day, and it's exactly the same issues.
I had a Canadian police officer on a couple of weeks ago, and same thing. It's happening over there as well. It's worldwide, mate. It's madness.
It is.
And the Canadian police officer said to me that when she joined the police, and she's been in 15 years, and she said that when she first joined, she said police had rights. The criminal didn't have rights. As it seems to be now that you arrest a criminal, but they've still got rights. Well, they've committed crime. They've committed a crime. So as soon as they've committed a crime, mate, their rights are waived. Like, they're a criminal.
Yeah.
You know, and it seems to be that the powers are with the crims and not with you guys, the guys that are protecting us.
And I do understand that we need to be held above society with scrutiny. We're the police force. But it's gone to a point where, go back to that pendulum idea, they've gone too far where we're instantly the crooks in the boss's eyes. And that reflection comes back onto the troops on the ground. They're pissed off with their job. They're pissed off with what is going on. So they're going to be pissed off on the street. The community is not going to respect that. In turn, you get the same behaviour back that you give. And if there was an answer, geez, I'd be a rich man.
100% you would.
I'd be a rich man contracting around the world. I wish there was an answer for it.
Yeah, and I think it just goes with how society is today, mate. But I feel, and we're going to get into what happened at Bondi in a little bit, but I think there's going to be a shift. I hope it starts to swing. The pendulum's starting to swing back the other way.
Yeah, I think so. And also, like I said earlier in the potty, some of the young blokes and girls that I've been chatting to that are new in the job, they're keen for it to get back. They're not sit around and sit on your hands kind of people, which I love to see.
Definitely.
A lot of us thought that style was gone and dead, but I think it's coming back.
And mate, I think with the current circumstances, with the way that Australia is and the way that the world is, I think we need some hard policing to come back. I really do.
Look, I've always said there's a time and place for everything. Sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes that's definitely not what you need. But the guys on the street need to be confident that when they do get out and do the hard policing, that they will be backed.
Yep, well said.
That's
well said. No, you don't need to say any more on that. Well said. And, mate, so many police officers now are leaving the job in droves right around the world. In your opinion, and what more can be done to, stop the hemorrhaging of police that are leaving the job in droves around the world?
Just another one. If I knew the answer to that completely, I'd be cheering. Goes back to that last comment, back in the troops. I know it's a worldwide thing with everyone's being over-scrutinised, they're being micromanaged, they're being used as political puppets, which really, since COVID, has really exacerbated what the police can be used for. A lot of the workload is the next thing. The case levels and whatnot. A few I've been speaking to on Instagram have told me their caseload, and I would not be able to bear with it. There's not enough troops. They're not supported enough for them to tell their friends, you should join the cops, this is a great job. Most of police recruitment's through word of mouth. Your mate says it's a great job. Oh, I'll go join the cops and be with that mate. I'm not going to say it's rare. It's very unlikely someone who's been in the cops for 5 years or more to say, you need to join the cops. Yeah, we'll all say, yeah, there's good days and bad days. Yeah, we do some pretty cool stuff. Some people are just blessed with perfect rostering and they just have a dream career. And good on them. Like, it's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. But there's definitely not many referrals to friends saying, come on, let's go. Let's go sign up. And that was starting to creep in even when I joined. Not as bad. Like, some people would leave here and there, but it wasn't like it is now where like the local station here is at 59% capacity. So even the unhappy guys can't transfer out to try and get career advancement because they can't afford to. But then if they stay at that command, they're getting heavily scrutinised from every direction by their own. Then the workload picks up as well. No one's going to hang around for that.
No.
Something has to change, but I don't know how to do it. And I'm sure if the powers that be knew how to do it, they'd do it. They can't afford to be losing this many cops. It's a strange time in history around the world. Everything's changing day to day, and we can't keep up at the moment with what changes are coming in, whether that be social media stuff, new laws, protests, war, terrorist attacks, AI. Like, every week there's something different that we haven't experienced. The world's in a very unstable place, and it does reflect into the police force where we just don't know where to go.
And, mate, I think my cousin he got out after 9 years last year. Like 9 years finished, and I said to him, you know, why? And he said, Adge, why would I stay when I've seen enough murder, I've seen enough DVs, I've seen enough shootings, like, and he worked at Tough Beat, which you've worked out there. He worked at St Mary's and Penrith. Very, very tough beat.
Shout out to the Nepean crews.
Yeah. Very tough
They're
beat.
very under the pump, and they show up every day.
Yeah. So, and he just said, Ads, I can do a civilian job and tuck my kids in at night. He said, you know, I risk my life for not a lot of money. And he said, you know, he said, I weighed it up, and he said family was more important to me. So that's why he left after 9 years.
Good on him. He made the call before the call made him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, mate, with everything you've been through and everything you've experienced, all the traumas and everything that you've seen and been through, looking back now, was joining the police still the best decision you made?
I'd say yes. I managed to positively affect a lot of people's lives, which if I'd just taken a mundane job, I could probably not say I'd ever do. I'm happy to carry what I'm carrying now because I know I helped people. And even if that was just for one day, or a week, or a lifetime, I think it's worth it. Yeah, it hurts sometimes, a lot of the time. But I rather go to bed at night knowing I'd actually tried to do something. So I'd do it again. I would definitely do it differently. I would definitely have a different game plan if I was to sign up again. If I could talk to 21-year-old Ben. But like I said, it is what it is. This is how it turned out. But yeah, it was worth it.
Mate, knowing what you know now and all that you've been through, what advice would you give your 18-year-old self, and would he listen?
No, he definitely wouldn't have listened. It's funny you asked that straight after what I said. But no, and it's... You can't pre-tell someone of a young age who's joining the cops or defence or anything first response how to be reasonable. Because you sign up for the action. You sign up to get amongst it.
Mm.
I'm sure people probably gave me heads up before I went, and I don't remember it because all I wanted to do was get that gear on and go be a cop.
Mm.
Like, just let me get out there and cop. So, yeah, I'd have a lot of advice for him, but I'll tell you, 18-year-old Ben would have...
Would he have listened? No.
Probably give me the finger.
Oh, mate. Yeah, no, I think we've all been there. I think back to and go, oof, what would 18-year-old Adam, what would current 33-year-old Adam tell 18-year-old Adam? I don't know. It'd be, I'd say, probably strap in for a wild ride. That's about it.
There's too many things I'd tell you.
100%.
I'd probably just kick myself up the backside. They pull your head in.
Yeah.
Switch on, mate.
Yeah. Mate, no, it's great advice to any young player out there. And would you say, mate, looking back now, enjoy the journey as well? Don't be in such a hurry for the destination. Enjoy the journey as well.
Definitely. Make the best of every shift you've got.
Mm.
Because I didn't know when my last shift was going to be, and it came, and there's regrets I could write a book on. What I wish I did, what I wish I didn't do.
Well, mate, I think there's going to be a book, because...
No, definitely not. I think a potty's the extent of it. It's, I don't have it in me.
Yeah. Hey, mate, everyone, I'd said that too.
I don't know if anyone's still awake listening to it, let alone writing a book, mate.
Yeah. Nah, mate, it's been wild. You think it hasn't, mate, but it has. And, yeah, no, it has, man.
But, yeah, any young players, even old players in the game, you don't know when the last day is going to be, and you'll regret not enjoying it, not taking enough photos with your workmates. Like, I remember people used to ask me, like, oh, do cops get paid enough? Or cops don't get paid enough. I remember thinking about it, and I was like, some days I think to myself, I'm at the train station, I'm picking up parts of a dead body of someone that's got mowed down at Waverton train station. And I think, you couldn't pay me enough money to do this. I mean, this is horrendous. Why am I doing this for this amount of money? And then I'll be on a night shift in a pursuit with 4 balaclavaed blokes in a stolen Audi, driving 200 k's an hour in a pursuit, thinking, I can't believe someone's paying me to have this much fun. It's one side of the coin or not. It's amazing or it's terrible. It's emotional roller coaster, but enjoy it, because it's your heyday. If you're in the job still, this is your heyday. You're going to look back and go, oh, remember when I did that?
Yep. Nah, that's it, man. It's it. I think almost every single veteran first responder I've ever had on the podcast, mate, and there's 160 of them, have said it's the best job of their life. It's the best job of their life. And same for you. All the shit that comes with it, best job of your life, mate.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no. And, mate, what advice would you give to anyone who is thinking of joining the police and or joining the emergency services?
I'd say always have a plan B. Don't rush into it. If you're a young fella, young girl, the job's going to be there forever. It's not going to disappear if you hold off. Get some life experience. Get a qualification. Get a trade. Something. Then join the cops. And if it doesn't work out, you've got something to fall back on.
Great.
Instead of a lot of us that we joined young with no qualifications. Now we're older, and who wants us? It's a hard thing. There's not that qualification to just walk into something else.
Yeah.
And then you've got something you can always go back on. So you can join the cops, and if it's not what you thought it was, you can leave and you've lost nothing. But you can tick off that box saying, I did it. Instead of being trapped in a job where you can't leave. So yeah, always have a plan B.
Yeah, those golden handcuffs aren't always, you can get out. You just have that plan B. And even whilst you're in the job, do some extra study or do something that can make that transitional path easier so the golden handcuffs aren't, and you're not, a crusty old 30, 40-year-old veteran going, the job's shit, get out before get out before you get to that point. So no, great advice. And mate, in your opinion, what more needs to be done to help first responders, be it with support offered for trauma that we face on a day-to-day basis, in your opinion?
Can you ask that one more time?
So, in your opinion, what more needs to be done to help first responders, be it with support offered for trauma that we see on a day-to-day basis? In your opinion, what?
I think there needs to be sufficient debriefing after traumatic events. When I was supervising, I tested it out on my own bat after we had a real bad suicide in North Sydney. And we sat down, I got the police chaplain in and the local psychiatrist, and we did a debrief. We all ran through exactly what we did from the first car to the last car. So we could all get it off our chest and we could get a full picture of what we'd experienced. And I learnt that from the AMBOs. We didn't do anything like that. I'd never heard of it. And we had a horrendous job, and the AMBOs asked if I wanted to sit in on their debrief. And I was like, what's a debrief? And I learnt it from them, and it needs to be strictly enforced that guys get the stuff off their chest. Like these days, it's frowned upon if the guys and girls go out for drinks afterwards or crack a beer together. But that's where the debriefing happens.
Black humour comes in.
Black humour, we're able to debrief in a relaxed environment.
And process what's been pretty shitty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now, in modern day, it's demonised. What's the word?
Demonised. Demonised? Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, whatever that
someone
word
will
is.
correct
Yeah.
us in the comments.
Yeah.
Hey, I failed law, so don't worry.
Yeah.
But like, we were told we couldn't drink together at the local pub at one stage. That was our debrief area. And like that rule went out the window pretty quick, but it still made you think. People say alcohol abuse, blah, blah, blah. It saved a lot of people from absolute meltdown, just being able to sit down and have a beer.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's not a beer, just sit down after work. And
It's a
be able to
natural
talk
human.
about something.
It's a natural human response to traumatic things is to try and process it and debrief it and talk about it.
And if
Because
you're doing it in your head, it's gonna not end well if you're just doing it constantly.
100%.
And I think there's probably something in policy somewhere saying it probably should be done. I never had a police enforced one in my whole career. So even after the critical incident, things just
Move on.
moved on, just went back to work. We didn't find out the results of the critical incident till 7 years later. Like, just let the guys and girls chat.
Yep. Mate, it's... And, you know, I'm a big pusher in this to... That, similar to DVA, that first responders get state by state and territory by territory, that we get funded by our state governments to have a system like the gold card or the white card, not a gold card but a white card, to simply cover us for our medical and also our, if you've been injured, you need to have your physio, like you go and get this white card covers you, and any medication that you need to have. That why should your continual care be from your service be put back on you to go and see the psych, to go and see the physio? If that's covered,
we do get covered for a certain amount of time post medical retirement, but it does dry up. But also, you got to think this whole, when I was talking about the business structure, it's the same in the government as well. It's all counting the beans and cost benefit analysis. They'll just get new stuff. So financially, it's not smart. If they're looking at it from a financial point of view, there's no human perspective on it. So this is one of those things that we've got to deal with and try and find ways around it, because that long-term help, or we used to say in the cops, if it makes sense, they won't do it. So you just got to make do with what you got and try and find a way that's not going to step on toes or cost money. Yeah.
Which, as you said, mate, earlier in the podcast, if you had the answer, you'd be a multi-millionaire.
Well, wouldn't that be the contracting gig?
Yeah. So, mate, I've got a few final questions before we wrap it up, and it's just been absolutely just wow. What a story, what a career. And you said you didn't have a story. Holy shit! I've only just touched this is the surface of what, you know, some of the other things that you're involved in. And mate, what are your plans now going into the future, and with your son? What are you hoping to do into the future?
Mate, complete honesty, I don't know. It's a day at a time. I've got a really tight bond with my son now. That's all I care about. I just want to be the best dad I can, just to be a present dad, because I wasn't there for the first couple of years of his life. And although he was young, he didn't remember. I'll remember it, and I'll constantly be trying to make up for that. So he's my number one, and that's all I'm worrying about. I've still got workers' comp and insurance stuff to deal with, and that's a minefield in its own. And I'm just taking day by day, just to be there, just to be still here.
Yep.
That's my thing right now.
I love it, man. And mate, you recently started Code Red.
Yep.
How has Code Red helped you in that transition and find purpose again?
So the whole point of Code Red is switch on and back your mates. In New South Wales, when we go lights and sirens to an emergency, it's called going Code Red. And we risk our lives to thrash to that job to save someone. Check they're okay, make sure everything's fine. But we don't often stop and check the person sitting next to us in the car. And that's something that has been a massive failing. And it's not intentional with how busy police work is and whatnot. We go one shift, one job to the next, one shift to the next. If someone drops off the radar, say sick leave or retirement, you don't purposely ignore them, but they're not in your front of mind. And I've been guilty of it when I was in the job. But years later, I go, oh, I wonder how Thingo is. That was one of my closest mates in the cops. So the Code Red is really a reminder that I've put on Instagram, is just to check on your mates. Whether it's in the car, you send them a text, you send them a reel, you send them a funny TikTok. Just something to... It's a lonely place when you think you're alone. And just that little question or funny text or funny reel or something, a call, could change the whole perspective of someone's life. So it's a reminder for myself that people haven't forgotten about me. It's a reminder for other people just to check. It's not hard. It's free. And
Costs nothing, mate.
Costs nothing just to send a text.
Or pick up, or an Instagram message, mate.
Yeah,
just, hey man,
it.
thinking of you. And mate, I've seen some of the stuff you've posted, and you know, like it is, mate. It's unreal. Like, you know, you have absolutely, mate. I'm proud to call you mate. Really am. And what you're doing is unreal, and that's why I wanted to get you on the potty, mate. Was because what you're doing, and you are helping so many first responders, mate, and people who are struggling. And mate, just hats off to you, man. Credit to you, man.
Appreciate that, mate. Also, thank you for putting this whole podcast together. You've been doing it for a long time now. How many up to now? 200 and...
So I've recorded now over 160.
160.
Yep.
That's a lot of stories that would never have been told. And the work that goes into each one of those, I just want to thank you for putting in that effort.
No, mate,
it's a huge job that not many people do.
Nah, thanks, man. I've got the best job in the world, mate. It's not even a job. I sit across from legends and like yourself and many others, mate, that have got unbelievable stories. And it's that always that recording it for history. It's for your son. It's for your grandkids. It's for, you know, capturing what first responders and veterans do. And, mate, it's that whole piece of resilience that, you know, no matter how shit life gets, there's always light at the end of that dark tunnel. Always. And, you know, that we're never alone, mate. It's exactly what you said. We're never alone. So, mate, no, I absolutely, you know, and I'll lead into, so how do people follow you, man? And if they want to reach out, if they're current serving police or they want to join?
Just hit me up on Instagram. It's Code Red Ben. It's nothing special. It's just me posting thoughts and ideas that come into my head about the struggles of being a cop and also struggles once you leave the cops. Sometimes some funny stories that go up there of wild police stuff I've seen overseas and in Australia.
You're doing some awesome work with Oz veteran cop. So
Yeah, old Nico.
Nico, champion, another previous. He will, when your episode comes out, previous guest on the podcast. So you're actually just after him. So
It's a bit of an act to follow.
Yeah.
He's a pillar of the Instagram community.
Absolutely,
now.
mate. He's a champion. Absolutely.
He's taken off big time, and he's just a great bloke to call a mate.
Absolutely, mate. I'm in the same boat as you to call him a mate, and one of his other good mates, Fergo, who previous guest as well. Mate, I've got some absolute legends, mate, and you're one of them. So, yeah, man, you're doing some good stuff for, and I think too, mate, what you're doing for the whole wider community is you're shining a light that for a long time has always been negative, and you're shining a light on the positive side of policing and the funny side as well, like with some of the stuff that you've done.
One of the things is, people open up Instagram every day after shift, and it's just negativity. It's, this is crap, that's crap, the world's crap, this has gone wrong. We see enough of that during the day at work. I don't want to slag anyone off. I don't want to bring light to bad situations. It's more just have a reprieve, to have a read of something that's in my head. And if it resonates with you, then, hey, I'm glad. And I've had a few people reach out that it's really impacted, and that's blown me away, because it's more of a therapeutic thing for me as well, to get some of these thoughts that are in my head out. And it's amazing to see it resonate with so many people.
Nah, it has, mate, and yeah, you keep doing what you're doing, brother. And mate, as the old saying, don't worry about the haters, mate. I've never seen a statue of a critic, mate. So keep doing what you're doing, man.
I say, any PR is good PR.
That's it, mate. Exactly right. And
mate, I honestly, I don't care what anyone says about me. Like, I could list all my mistakes and failures if someone asks. So if someone else wants to air them, then wow, congratulations. That's fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. And mate, it leads me to my final thing. So recently we saw a terrorist attack at Bondi. It changed Australia. That was our 9/11. I really believe that, and mate, you've been in the job, you served for 14 years, and I just want to get a quick 5 on your thoughts of the criticism that was thrown at your fellow brothers and sisters in blue, that from the keyboard warriors, and just your thoughts around that whole incident.
I want to be careful with how I word this, because, as we know, there's still the critical investigation going on, and there's coroners that's going to follow, and there's a lot of officers involved that are deeply affected by it and are going to keep on getting affected as this investigation goes on. I'm by no means an expert on tactics or anything like that. I'm just a GD's cop who got to do cool shit.
Yeah.
But I can say those guys and girls that went there, absolute bloody legends.
Yep.
Anyone that was seen to be hiding was taking cover from rounds coming down range at them. You talk to any special operations, any defence, if you hit, you're out of the fight. There was no cowardice there at all. And the more footage that comes out shows that. They were taking cover and advancing, returning fire, and kept going. And
it's something, mate, that I want to highlight, that from a civilian perspective, you guys aren't trained. Fire and movement is not your thing. That's the military's job.
It's not we have a little bit of training with our active armed offenders, but it's once a year.
And
it's different in scenario-based stuff. And we're not like the US, where there's shots coming back down range at us. It's happened in Australia, but it's very rare. And usually when it's happened, it's been fatal for police because of the lack of experience and training in it. I do believe that the cops are going to introduce some very serious training in, and I feel with the commissioner we've got, Mel Lanyon. He's the man to be in that spot in this day and age.
To implement the change, yeah. And, you know, I want to highlight this to the civilian listener too, mate. It's all the podcasts I've done with police and military. The tactical advantage that the shooters had, they were on the high ground. You guys were responding in from the low ground, so that's already a disadvantage. They had long arm with scopes. You guys have Glocks. I'm painting a picture here to this. It's like, and literally the detective that got the shot off was a 1 in a million shot to 40 metres with rounds coming back, which you went down to the scene a couple of days later, and you know how he wasn't hit is a miracle. That as you know, the standard distance for a Glock is 20 metres.
Like accuracy, yeah.
Accuracy at 20 metres. To get that shot off at 40 metres, 1 in a million, and just absolute bravery from every single... You hit the nail on the head, mate. Every single officer that was attended, every first responder that attended that scene, absolute hats off to you. Just absolute bravery. Did an amazing job in tried and testing circumstances that haven't been seen before in the general public. I mean, like the Lint siege was different. It was compressed into a cafe, but this is a wide open area, and I just want to highlight that, mate. They absolutely did an amazing job, and to the keyboard warriors out there,
tell them just to keep typing because no one's listening.
Yeah, or get off your ass and go and do a day as a police officer.
We probably don't want the keyboard warriors doing that.
That's true.
It's too much of a liability, but most cops, we don't listen to that crap.
Mm.
And I'm sure the cops that attended Bondi aren't paying attention to that because you know when you've done a good job, you know when you've done a shit job. They know they did a great job.
100%, mate.
And keyboard warriors are going to be there forever because that's their life.
Yep.
Or, that would probably cross the line, I was going to say. But,
no,
they can type what they want. We do what we do, and that their words aren't going to change what's happened or what's going to happen.
Yep. Well said, mate. And I think that's a great place to call it and end the potty, mate. I think
it's been a big one.
Yeah. I think, what is it? It's 3 hours and 9 minutes. So, yeah, big.
Mate, I'm ready for a nap after
big
that.
Session, mate. Big session. And, mate, I'll finish with this. So, Ben, thank you for your service to our country and our state of New South Wales. I want to thank you for the work that you do for first responders still in the job and leaving the job. And, mate, I appreciate you coming on True Blue and sharing your story, mate. It's just been an absolute privilege to have you on. So thanks, mate.
Mate, I appreciate it. It's been an honour being on here, especially with the list of people you've had before. I'm deeply humbled, so thank you, mate.
No, you're welcome, mate. Thanks, mate. And we'll, I think we can go and enjoy a beer together now. So
cheers, and a white monster.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
See you, mate.
Thanks for listening to True Blue Conversations with your host, Adam Bloom. Real talk with those that pledge to keep us safe with grit, sacrifice, and determination. See you next time.